Well, hello, Drift World. This is the G-Shock Presents Formula Drift Japan. We are here at the beautiful and now rainy Ebisu circuit. I am Ryan Sage along with Ryan Lantane.
You can see the start line. They'll drive down, initiate in the beginning of that right-hand bend, and then try to get to outside zone 1. And from outside zone 1 to in-clip 1 to outside zone 2, we want them to have a nice arc, smooth arc through there. We want them to get the angle set at outside zone 1, get by inside clip 1 to outside zone 2 without corrections. Going from outside zone to inside clip 1 and then outside zone 2, their speed's now higher. So there's inside clip 1. You can see it inside of the rumble strip. As they get to outside zone 2 here in transition, now we had to put a decel zone right there because they're going to be coming through there so much quicker, and they need to slow down before getting that at inside clip 2. So that's one thing that has changed from before, and I think that it's going to change. I don't think there's going to be a choke up now at outside zone 3. It's just going to be a slight slowdown, and you can see right there what happens when drivers come in on a newly wet surface and try to maintain the same level of aggressiveness that they did during the dry. That wall of dirt on the side of the track right there is one of the main reasons why we couldn't shift the outside zone 1 to the area that we wanted to. It would have put the drivers in even more of a dangerous situation, and you can see how dangerous it is here where we have it set already.
Yeah, and as we're seeing Atsushi Wachi going into the wall here, sustaining some damage, let's remind everybody that this is the sighting lap for the first group of drivers to come into competition. Unfortunately, he looks like he got a bad start there and caused some pretty significant damage to the vehicle. We've got 50 drivers that are registered for this weekend. That is a cap for Formula Drift Japan. So we are finishing up here. This is Yoshimi Mori in his sighting lap, and you can definitely tell the conditions changing pretty dramatically here. So drivers just getting a quick lap to try to assess the track conditions as best they possibly can. Well, I think that was I think we have no, that was our final sighting lap. It looks like that Yoshio Sake is at the line, but we will move on to our very first run of qualifying. As I said, 50 registered drivers. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 drivers knocked out from practice either due to mechanicals or other issues. So we are down to 43. 32 are qualifying, and here is Yoshio Sake coming down, initiating right between the third and second standing marker. Pretty decent job on that outside zone. He's going to push wide here, it looks like, on that inside clip, but not a bad job there. Oh, and he has a big understeer there, has to pull the angle out. And Ryan, you guys were very specific where the line and angle points are allocated, and specifically with the line, you guys are using the rumble strips as your marker, 5 points in the rumble strip, and then going down either how far off or how deep past the strips you are. Talk about Yoshio Sake's first run, and how does this look in the rain here?
He did pretty well in the beginning part of outside zone 1, but he left it a little early, and then he had that big straighten right there before outside zone 2. And then he kind of was off of outside zone 3. Did a pretty good job getting close to inside clip 2. So some good, some bad, and we're going to have probably angle-wise a reduced score there for outside zone 2.
This track venue location, 71 for Yoshio Sake, literally has many, many hundreds of vehicles on site, on presence, that are either owned by individuals or up at Andrew's shop. I mean, It's really incredible.
It is. A lot of stuff laying around here. A lot of very historic drift cars as well, ones that were used in D1, ones that have been used in Formula Drift Japan, old time attack cars that were legendary that Andy has acquired. So up at Andy's shop, there's some really, really cool hardware.
All right, the JZX 100 Mark II of Kazumi Takahashi up next, heading down, gets that initiation right past the second standing cone. He's going to be on the inside of that first outside zone, wrapping it back around, playing it a bit conservative here, trying to get a scored run on the board with 43 drivers. There's basically 11 drivers that are going to be going home, filling 32 spots, and then wrapping through this last section of turns here, a bit off camber. Takahashi will get a scored run. Ryan, let's take a look at the replay and walk us through here, car number 36.
Didn't quite get out to outside zone 1. He was a little bit off of that. He was way off of inside clip 1, so line-wise, you can see that he was actually outside of the rumble strip there. His front tire might have been on the rumble strip, but definitely outside of where he should have been. Was not super deep and out. Oh, he was on the rumble strip, but the bumper was right in where it should be. Outside zone 3 is where he wasn't deep right there, and he did a pretty good job on inside clip 1. Car had a couple of little bobbles, but it's I guess to be expected in this like a drive they're not really knowing what to expect since they've only got one little practice lap in.
So just clarify for us and everybody watching at home, on the outside zones, it's rear wheels on the rumble strip for full points, correct?
That's correct, yeah. The back tire has to be on the rumble strip. If they're inside of that, then deductions will be given progressively as they go further in.
All right, a 66 for Kazumi Takahashi. He'll go back and regroup for run number 2, but he's got a scored run. And up next should be the driver, and he does not look like he is at the line. So Atsushi Wachi right now looks as if he is going to bail on run number 1 after sustaining. And I'm trying to see if they can get us a replay, but is there a wait? Are they going to show a replay of that so we can talk about it or no? Okay, yeah, I was asking for a replay for anybody that wanted to see that, but Robbie's shaking his head at me no. But if you missed it, Atsushi Wachi went into the dirt wall right past outside zone number 1, damaged his vehicle. He let us know that he's skipping run number 1. So here is Yoshimi Mori in the S15 Sylvia coming down the front straight. Pretty good amount of speed there. Gets that initiation. Big angle. Oh, boy. And he's going to... Oh! It did look like his speed was maybe a little bit overzealous there, but a good save nonetheless. And you can see the mud that is being brought back out on the course from the dirt that has come down off of that wall. Ryan, let's take a look here. What happened? Looks like he got a bit too much angle after initiation.
Well, you called it. As he was coming down to initiation, he was going too fast. Wasn't able to keep the car on the track, did a nice 360, and only touched that dirt hill on the side, so that could have been way worse. But what's not great is how much mud he dragged on the track. But I guess that's going to happen.
All right, so he will be served an incomplete on run number 1. Yoshimi Mori will head back and regroup for run number 2. That should put us to car number 999, Yoshio Takano, with the JZX 100. A chaser, I do believe, I think I can spot him at the line. As we'll move right along. Yep, that is him. Yoshio Takano, the JZX 100, running Federal tires here. Many different tire manufacturers in Formula Drift Japan. I think at last count it was something like 11. And so a lot of variance in the tire competition. Gets that initiation right at the second standing cone. He's way on the inside here, and it looks like he might get choked up at inside clip 1. He does really, really offline, Ryan. Not getting into outside zone number 1. And this is definitely not a quote-unquote chaseable lead, but in these conditions, definitely very challenging there for him. I'd love to get your impression of that, Ryan. He was so far off of outside zone number 1. What happened there to car 999?
Yeah, we're going to have a look at the replay here and see how far off he was before inside clip 1. He entirely disregarded outside zone 1. Didn't even get close. Kind of a tire off there coming into inside clip 1. Way off outside zone 2. Kind of got out there early. He really, the only one who got near was outside zone 3 in terms of a zone, and then inside clip 2, of course, he was pretty near. So let's see what the other guys are saying here. Hey, it's starting to rain again. You scoring that guy? Starting to rain again, Ryan. What do you think about that?
I'm not stoked on it.
No, I agree with you.
All right, so it looks like the judges are going to give a score here, but certainly it's going to be very, very low. As we mentioned at the onset of the broadcast, we have 43 drivers competing for 32 spots. So taking a look in the hot pits as some of the drivers try to make preparations for this first run or second run, depending if they've already gone. And we already have seen at least one casualty, Atsushi Wachi, who went into the wall during his siding lap. And I believe that was our last driver of the first group, so we will see the second group now do their siding laps. And it looks like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars lined up.
That last score is not going to be pretty, Ryan.
So in this group, we've got Manki Ito, Koji Kitagawa, Nobuyuki Kubo, who we saw at Suzuka, does make it out to a round or two a year, so that's really cool. And then I think we have car number 777, SunJoo Choi, in the one of 2 or 3 RX-7s here this weekend. And there's SunJoo. Looks like we've been somewhat now protected again. Try not to disrupt the broadcast too much, but when you're getting pounded with rain, it's kind of hard to pretend it's not happening. So we are in our little box up here, and when it gets sideways rain, they have to put the screens down, and sometimes it doesn't happen quickly enough, and all of us get pretty blasted. All right, so I think this is our first driver up in the second session.
Ito.
This looks like Manki Ito initiating. Big e-brake pull, a lot of angle. He's going to pull out of it. He's going to be too tight there, not going to be able to hold that angle. So it's going to be an incomplete. And the brutality continues. As we are seeing some spotty areas in the surrounding clouds, but right here in this valley right now, we're getting poured on pretty strongly. And we've seen a few scored runs, Ryan, but also 1 crash and 2 incomplete so far. And as we take a look at the hot pitch, you get a good idea of the location from the judges' stand, which is that camera right there. And now making it official, Manki Ito will get that incomplete for run number 1. Oh boy.
It wouldn't be bad if it would just rain, Ryan, but it's got to be windy too.
Yeah, it's a sideways rain.
Yeah.
Koji Kitagawa, the FT3S RX-7, car number 654, our next driver up. And he looked pretty decent in his spotting run. Let's see how he deals with the rain here. Coming down the front straight, taking that wide line approach, heading back over to the last standing initiation point. He's going to be way off of outside zone number 1. He's not going to get pinched, but he's going to go a little bit too far on that first inside clip. Off of outside zone 2. Looks like the judges are going to score it, but we did see that very low score for Yoshio Takano. Did that score come up?
Yeah, he hit a 40.
40, okay.
Yes, sir.
Take us through this run, Ryan, here as...
Yeah, pretty conservative initiation, pretty slow to angle, but understandable in these conditions. Missed outside zone 1, long handbrake pull, way off of inside clip 1. A bit of a stall up there just after that, and not on the rumble strip for outside zone 1 or sorry, 2 or 3, and relatively close to inside clip 2, and finished pretty strong actually. Good finish.
Certainly going to be wet for the foreseeable future, even with the rain kind of pausing and going. Here it is, Koji Kitagawa 52, so he will log a score. It'll be a low one. And up next, Nobushige Kubo. Everybody that's involved in drifting should know this legend of the motorsport. Track owner here, and a man of many talents.
Team Orange Chief.
pizza maker.
Pizza maker. We bugged him for pizza this weekend, and
Did
he
we?
said,
We could get it.
"Oh, he said I'm driving. I can't. I don't have time," and I'm very disappointed.
So he's got to be familiar with this track as anybody, and is able to hold pretty good angle just on the inside of outside zone number 1, but not really phased here. This is probably the best run we've seen so far. You can definitely see the skill and talent coming out here in these very challenging conditions. Massive amount of wheel speed being generated in these wet conditions, but he's going to fly through that last inside clip for the best run of the day so far for my money. And Ryan, walk us through it here. How did he deal with those challenging wet conditions?
That was pretty impressive, Ryan, especially seeing how everybody else has been doing. He was able to maintain momentum. He was able to drive in an aggressive fashion and get the car to angle. Very few corrections, as you can see. Just some slight wavering there, but really in these conditions, nothing to be too concerned about. Gets out on the rumble strip for outside zone 2. Pretty good job on outside zone 3 there. That is a decel zone, so you see a handbrake pull, but that is kind of expected in that area, even in these wet conditions. So not too bad from him. That's, like you said, definitely the most impressive run we've had yet.
Well, and that'll put him in the number 1 spot. Typically wouldn't see that for a 76, but seeing the curve kind of come into play here, the legend of Nobuyuki Kubo logs our first 76 run of the day. And we will move on to our next driver and see how car number 777 deals. SunJoo Choi.
Our lone Korean drifter.
Is that right? Okay. Heading through the chicane. He did spin out on his siding lap. Looks like he's kind of holding it together here, but struggling. Oh, and he does bring the car to 0 angle for a second. Now he's going to stop, and I think that's going to be too much for you guys.
Yes.
And that will be an incomplete on run number 1 for him. So bummer there for SunJoo Choi, and Ryan, obviously, I mean, not really much to say there, an incomplete, but any advice for our lone Korean driver?
Well, you want to play it safe when the weather's like this, because clearly you don't want to end up in that dirt hill, but in his case, he may have played it a little too safely, a little too conservative. He could have used a little bit more speed to get him out to inside clip 1, a little more momentum, but you could see that he had to try to stretch that drift, but there just wasn't enough speed behind it to get him all the way around there without making that big correction. So it's hard to walk that fine line without some practice, you know, some seat time in the rain. Once you get comfortable with the grip level in the rain, you can usually get yourself positioned pretty well, and once you have a feel for it, it comes together, but just didn't have the seat time in the rain.
Well, we saw him in Suzuka. This is Go Kamiya, the Brid V35 Skyline. Let's see what he does here. Run number 1, looking pretty aggressive here. Flicks it, big angle, and he is not going to hold it. Destroys the first cone of the outside zone number 1, and it just started absolutely pouring once again, and we are getting blasted now. Oh my goodness. Oh boy. So it will be an incomplete as everybody, drivers and staff included, trying to hold it together here as these conditions really changing minute by minute, getting a little bit dry, and then the wind coming in and picking up. As we take a look at the incomplete here, Ryan has gone to service our shield in the front, so I'll let him do that. But unfortunately for Go in the V35 Skyline, it will be an incomplete on run number 1. Thank you, Ryan.
My pleasure, Ryan.
So you can see the significance of the rain coming down there. Just started coming down now we're in fat rain. With sideways rain, now it's fat rain. And Go Kamiya will sit with that incomplete. So even with the rain, we're moving along here. We've got siding laps in play for all 43 drivers currently in competition. And taking a look at our next driver up, it is Daiichi Mizutani in the S15. I believe he is our last driver in this group.
Chotomate kudasai. Just a moment, please. Getting ourselves cleaned up in here. Make everything pretty. Ryan, usually when I come here, I kind of pray for rain secretly. Not during a competition, but when I'm here driving myself, you just get a whole day on one set of tires. Gets you really comfortable at a slower pace, especially if, you know, like myself, I haven't been here in a couple of years to drive. So when I came here the first time, it did rain, and I was pretty happy with that. But today, I kind of wish it would be sunny. This is the one time you don't want.
Yes, for your purposes, it's fine to have rain. For our purposes, we would like to have dry.
Great. Yeah.
Like to have dry rain.
Dry. Here we go.
Daiichi Mizutani, first run out, heavy rain coming down, trying to deal with it. Looks like he's coming in with a pretty good amount of momentum, but he's keeping angle in the car. Oh, no!
Oh, Spinzo.
Yeah, right as he got on the painted rumble strip, it looked like he was going to hold it, but not able to. And so yet another incomplete here as we make our way down. And Ryan, was it the rumble strip and the paint that caused that, or was it just a little bit too much angle there in the rain?
Well, it could have been too much speed. It could have been a combination of a few different things. It's we've seen people spin out all over the track on their warm-up laps during their runs. Yeah, it's not great. We don't have a lot of scores right now. We have a few zeros, quite a few zeros in our 11 runs that we've had in so far. Oh yes, right, Sendo.
So making it official there for Daiichi Mizutani. Our next driver up should be, I think, the first driver of our next sighting group. Yep.
Yes.
Yusuke Casaba. All right, so heading up to the line here. We'll get started shortly with the first driver in this third group, car number 938, Yusuke Casaba. One of a handful of drivers running on the Bridgestones. Tires such a important factor in drifting back home, but here it is taking on a life of its own. So many different compounds, and people really trying to out-engineer each other, which has made it kind of fascinating to watch. And I've seen a few rain tires out there, so let's see how Yusuke, same thing as his siding lap, and unfortunately it's going to be our fourth incomplete in a row, so bummer for him. And the siding lap unfortunately repeated itself. And Ryan, maybe again, just that conservative approach, probably better, a little bit more prudent here than trying to go for that 100-point run.
You're right, but it's hard to find the balance between over-driving and under-driving.
Well, looks like the problems have got a little bit worse here for Yusuke Casaba. He is now sitting dead in the water right outside of inside clip and the finish line. All right, so we'll take a quick commercial break, and we will get Yusuke Casaba off and come right back, finish up the first run of qualifying here with quite a few drivers left to go. And it just got wet and rainy right before qualifying started. We've seen a number of drivers deal not so well with even the siding laps. Quite a few incompletes out there as we take a look overhead with the drone shot that really is only able to go up when it is dry, so we're hoping to see more of that. But we've got our fourth group now that has gone through with their siding laps that allow them to get a feel for the course conditions. This is car number 84, Masakazu Ohashi in the S15. First run up after 4 straight incompletes, looking for a scored run here. He's coming down with a pretty good amount of speed. Holds some angle into outside zone 1, and no. Oh, I thought he had it.
I did too.
I thought he had it.
It's not easy being green, Ryan.
So Ryan, it'll be another incomplete, but just give us some insight there. What happened? Looked like he was carrying good momentum, took a bit of a risk. Seemed like he was going to make it out of outside zone 1. He more or less did, but then...
yeah, he made it over outside zone 1, actually.
Yeah.
It's just slippery out there. We've seen drivers spin all over the place. It's inconsistent. There's mud on the track now. Not making it easy. it's unfortunate for everybody involved. Had we done qualifying when practice was, would have been all set, Ryan.
Would have been
how
awesome.
did we know?
Would have been awesome.
Would have been awesome.
So 5 rounds in the Formula Drift Japan Championship. Up next, we head to Fuji, and we finish up the season at the Okiabuki in Okayama. And this driver here has seen some success at some of those rounds. This is the wife of that driver right there. She is Masami Noah in the JZX 100 Chaser. Looking to get a score on the board here. This may be a good opportunity for her. She's a veteran driver and should be used to these conditions. Let's see how she handles it. Looks like she's managing speed well. Initiates on the inside here. She's going to miss outside zone number 1. Is keeping a little bit of angle in the car. She reaches through that inside clip. Oh, and she unwinds it a little bit, but it looks like the judges are writing down some scores, and now we are getting a little bit of head shaking there. Maybe that was 2 big mistakes and too much to overcome. But she did not spin, as we've seen, and come to an abrupt stop. But Ryan, give us some insight. What are you guys talking about over there?
Yeah, we could have forgiven the first one, but the second big straighten is unfortunately going to have to be an incomplete.
All right, so bummer there for Masami Noah. Unfortunately, she will have that incomplete. And it looks like it is now official. I see the scorecards getting handed off. Her husband, Shinji Minowa, is a few drivers away. He will probably give her some words of advice and then go out there and finish up or start his session of qualifying. All right, our next driver up, Tomohiro Murayama. Running Dunlops, he's got the S14, and he has been given the green light to go here at Ebisu West Circuit. Heading through the chicane, down the front straight, midline, snaps it over. He's getting out to outside zone 1, just right on that line, holding it so far. Looks pretty good here. Navigating the rain pretty well and still getting out to outside zone 2. Relatively smooth to outside zone 3, and looks like if he can survive this last off-camber corner, he's going to have a very nice scored run, Ryan. And that was well executed, all things considered, dealing with the rain from Tomohiro Murayama.
Yeah, good job from him. This is, you know, for all the zeros we had, 6 of them in a row, this is proving that it can be done. He got right on the rumble strip there, did a great job of getting the car to angle smoothly, not a lot of corrections, a couple of little areas where the angle was slightly lower than it should have been, but overall did a great job through this run. Really proved that it can be done at a pretty high level.
All right, so after 6 consecutive incompletes, we will get a scored run on the board. This will be the first scored run since Nobuyuki Kubo had that 76. He currently sits on top of the leaderboard in the number 1 position, and he will have a 74, so he's going to stand right next to Kubo, and that'll definitely be a keeper for him if these conditions hold. As we make our way almost halfway through the driver pool. Our next driver up should be, and it is, number 145, Takatoshi Ito in the S15. We saw him go off course at outside zone 1 during his spotting lap. Let's see what he can do here when it really matters. Leaving the chicane. Slow roll approach here. Just gets initiated into outside zone number 1. And as he got back on the throttle through inside clip 1, the back end washes out, and he will be yet another victim of this very wet course here. Ryan, it was a slow approach for him. It seemed like he was relatively tentative, trying to keep it very conservative, but unfortunately inside clip 1 got him.
Yes, I believe he was probably a little shy after his spin into the dirt, that dirt wall on run 1, or sorry, on his warm-up lap before run 1. And he played it very conservatively, as opposed to letting the momentum of the car carry him around inside clip 1. He got on the throttle. Of course, it is slippery, maybe a little slipperier there on the rumble strip than he expected. But the previous driver showed that if you go through there with momentum on throttle, the car is settled. It can make it through no problem. If you're going through there, kind of letting the car float before it very slowly, and you try to kind of get back on the throttle right away at that spot, it can really unsettle the car. Not the ideal way to go through there.
Waiting for the thumbs up from Kume, and we will be underway. Here we go. Get through that chicane pretty aggressively. Middle of the course, snaps it. Nice initiation given the rain. Great job navigating to outside zone 1. Feathering the e-brake, but getting through inside clip. Good momentum. Oh, he unwinds it there. And he does drop a tire, goes a little bit wide at outside zone 2, back around to outside zone 3, coming up a little bit short here. It looks like I'm seeing pens from all 3 judges, so it looks like it will be a scored run. And we have seen quite a few mistakes after inside clip 1, but it looks like he will get a score on the board. Ryan, what happened here with Tetsuya Kume?
Didn't do too bad of a job on outside zone 1, got the tire out there on the rumble strip slightly. Didn't fill it entirely, but wider than a lot of the other drivers. Got on that 3rd hash mark at inside clip 1. Unwound the car there a little bit, but got back and missed outside zone number 2. Didn't get wide to 3, but did all right on inside clip number 2. And other than that one correction, you know, it was pretty ugly, but angle and style will get him for that. And myself as the line judge will get him for the rest of the little errors there. But he will get a score, and right now it looks like that's all you need maybe to get into the action here.
Indeed, yes. If you're joining us, we started off the weekend with 50 drivers. We then got 43 drivers at the beginning of this qualifying session, and so that means there's 11 spots that are going to be eliminated, 11 drivers that are going to be eliminated to fill 32 spots. And as we see the score drop here for Tetsuya Kume, it's a 58. And next up will be car number 28. Kazuya Iizuka.
This is a car that's been getting a lot of attention on the internet. It is pretty unconventional when it comes to a drift car. Looks pretty great. And having that big loud V8, it does crack and pop a lot, so it gets a lot of attention.
Here we go. Blasting down that front straight. The V8 sounding pretty wild. Nicely navigates his initiation into outside zone number 1. And so far, so good. Very slick part of the course here. He's able to hold it into outside zone 2. And this is coming together quite well. Moves his way over to outside zone 3. Keeps good angle in the car. Great job of manipulating the vehicle to get through the finish line there. And even though he was a bit wide on that final inside clip, what we've seen so far, Ryan, that looked like a pretty solid run.
Yes, it was. He was pretty aggressive. He got really deep in outside zone 2. That tire was almost right on the outside edge of the rumble strip, so showing that he was pretty confident in his car and his driving and what he was doing out there. You can see that gets on the rumble strip for about half of outside zone number 1. Good maintaining angle well there through inside clip 1. You can see really wide on outside zone 2. Had a kind of a wonky transition there, kind of drove the car from that outside zone 2 to 3. He didn't really carry the angle and then rotate the car, but that'll be on the style judge to deduct for that error right there. But overall, a great run.
All right, so starting to pick up the pace here. Still wet and rainy, a bit muddy in certain areas. A few drivers going off. We're about halfway through the driver pool now with Kazuya Iizuka dropping his score. It will be a scored run, and it should be a good one. And it's a 75, so that's going to put him right there into second place next to Kubo. And in third place now is Tomohiro Murayama. So nice run for him. Here is Manabu Fujinaka in the FD3 SRX7. He's on good rides, and he is good to go. Opting for that midline approach, snaps it right at that third standing cone. He's going to come off outside zone 1 a little bit early, but trying to hold it together here as he pushes wide at inside clip 1. Good angle. He's going to drop a tire, take out those 2 standing cones that designate the start and stop point of that second outside zone. A bit wild there, but still able to hold it together, and no question it'll be a scored run. So Ryan, here, what are some of the takeaways here from Manabu Fujinaka?
He managed to stay at angle throughout the course. He got a score on the board, but was not the most accurate. He wasn't very precise here. You can see over the line there at outside zone 1, and then pulls out quite a bit early. Way, way wide on inside clip 1. Too deep on outside zone 2 through the entirety of that zone. Missed outside zone 3 and was off of inside clip number 2. So really not accurate, but drifted through the entire course. Will get a score and can presumably try to clean it up for run number 2.
All right, so car number 808, Manabu Fujinaka, gets a 68, a respectable score, relatively speaking, for what we've seen so far. And we'll move right along to our next driver, car 333, Minori Tohsaka, in the AE85 Treno. 1 of 2 on this team. Let's see how he does here on run number 1. Heading about midway over, early initiation, gets it sideways. He's going to be way inside on that first outside zone and pushing wide on that inside clip. But navigating to that second outside zone, he does it very well. And you got to admit, the third outside zone pretty well. Also, little bit of angle reduction there. Oh no!
Let's watch the replay, Ryan.
Yeah. We're all kind of snickering here because spinning after the finish line has become a hot topic back in the U.S. So, Ryan, just walk us through here what you saw.
Yeah, you're right on outside zone 1. He was quite a few feet off of that zone, but managed to do a nice smooth arc past it. Did an okay job on outside zone number 2. You can see there actually got the tire right on the rumble strip. Left 3 a little bit early, got by that inside clip, and then got a little aggressive on the throttle and got 1 tire in the dirt. Spun the car after the finish line, so we're going to have to discuss this over here.
So yeah, a little bit of background on that. We had a situation at Road Atlanta where we had a driver that Ken Gushi versus Vaughn Gittin Jr., where a lot of people felt that the Gittin quote-unquote spin that happened past the finish line should not count. Some people thought that it should count, and they implemented a rule going into New Jersey that if you spin anywhere on the course, that'll be counted as a 0, with one exception and one exception only, and that is for the chase driver, in the case of the chase driver.
The chase driver can still be zeroed out. It's just not an automatic 0.
Not an automatic, right.
Situational, right?
Yep.
But since we did not discuss any of that here in Japan, we are going with our best judgment in this case. So we're not really bringing that rule over as is from FDUS. So he will get a score for that run, and we will continue to judge in that fashion during this event this weekend.
All right, so a 68 for Tomonori Tohsaka. And up next will be Shinichiro Saito. No relation to Daigo, but everybody always asks that. So he is in the RPS 13.
We like to joke that it's his dad.
It's his dad.
It's dad,
yes.
Papa Saito.
Yes, you can see the resemblance there.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so Saito, our next driver up. Midline approach. Gets that slow roll initiation. Front wheels wanting to wash out. He's going to be on the inside of outside zone number 1. Kind of smoothly flies by that first inside clip, and he's not going to be able to hold it together. 360 spins right between outside zone 2 and 3. And from what we've seen, that will be an incomplete pretty clearly.
Yeah, that was not much of an initiation. He kind of just drove by the clip, or sorry, the beginning of the zone. You can see there he wasn't really doing a great job, unfortunately. And this is where coming in really, really slow and having to try to throttle out of a slow area where you should actually be carrying momentum kind of bites you in a way that's unpredictable, as we saw drivers going over that rumble strip with speed, with momentum, with angle, no problem at all. But if you get on the throttle too aggressively, certainly it's going to spin as you go over it.
And currently right now, we've got a high score of a 76. That is our high score so far, with the 75 in second place by Kazuya Iizuka. And we've got a 74 from Tomohiro Murayama, car number 14. And up next is car number 18, Tatsuya Yeehaw, in the crown. Pretty dope looking vehicle as he awaits for the ready signal. Looked like he had a pretty solid siding lap.
We've had a couple of Velino tired cars get zeros, but we've also had a couple get scores. So we're just trying to see if there's a correlation between tire brand and model and wet performance, but we'll see. Should be able to put this together.
Midline approach here for Yeehaw. Nice conservative initiation. He gets a bit deep into outside zone 1. He does keep angle in the car. This is a scary part right here through inside clip 1. He's going to push wide. Drop a tire on outside zone number 2. Oh, and he's not able to make the transition over to outside zone 3. It sounded like he missed a gear there.
Yes, it did.
And unfortunately, a scored run turns into an incomplete. So that is a bit of a bummer for him, as it looked like he made it through the treacherous parts of the course, Ryan.
Yes, you're right. That would be considered the easier part of the track there, from outside zone 2 to 3 down to inside clip 2. But unfortunately, either a misshift or hopefully nothing broken. But definitely could have put that together and continued through had it not been for that issue. He did not the best execution on outside zone 1, but he got through it. Dropped the tire on the outside, left it early, but he still would have received a score for this run had it not been for that major straightening through that area.
All right, so a bummer there for Tatsuya Yeehaw. It is now going to be Jin Orino up next in the S15 Sylvia on good rides. Looks like he's heading to the line. And there he is. Seen some really strong moments from him over the past couple years competing in Formula Drift Japan. Let's see how he can manage this wet course here. Aggressively gets through the chicane. Midline approach, snaps it back the other way around. Big angle there, and this is looking good so far. He goes a little bit deep into that zone, but I like the aggression. He's still able to pull it off. Keeps angle in the vehicle to outside zone 2. This is ramping up to be one of the better runs here.
Wow.
Great job on outside zone 3. And you can see areas where the grip level kind of picks up. He surges forward, and Ryan, overall, that was a very solid performance. He had aggression in his initiation on his approach, and was able to get through there without too many big mistakes.
Yeah, that was definitely the best run I've seen in qualifying so far in terms of how smooth he was. Look at how the car is settled. He's got it at angle, not a lot of movement, if any at all, until just past outside zone 1. He did drop a tire just kind of, I guess, most of the way through outside zone 1, but only slightly. Did a great job on zone 2, zone 3, putting his tire right on the rumble strip, and that front left tire was up on the rumble strip for inside clip number 2. So really not a lot of deductions on line other than outside zone 1 and inside clip 1. The rest was really very clean. So good job from Jin Horino. That should put him in the #1 position, I would say.
So Ryan giving a score of confidence to Jin Horino, and it does follow through from the other judges, an 82. That is your first score in the 80s, and that will put him into the #1 spot. So a great job by Jin Horino in that Topps S15 Sylvia. So he's got definitely some nice breathing room here, but as we move down the lineup, we will definitely see some killers head to the starting line. Up next is car number 58, Kazuhiro Kubo in the S13 Sylvia. And and he is off. Also running Velinos. Let's see how he does here with the grip. Midline approach, snaps it back around. Good aggressive flick. He's going to get just a little bit short of outside zone 1 through that inside clip. Oh, no. He's trying to push out to outside zone 2, but short there. So short on the first 2 outside zones, better on outside zone 3. And as long as he can navigate through this inside clip and the finish line, which he does, he will get a scored run.
Not as clean as Jin Harino's run, but proving that this track can be completed with aggressiveness. You can see that he's at angle, a little bit of wavering there from the front wheels, was a little bit off of outside zone 1. Got a little bit early in inside clip 1, which sent him kind of on the wrong line there for outside zone 2. When he rotated for outside zone 3, nice rotation, although late, but he did get to the zone and did a pretty good job through to the finish.
All right, so starting to see some drivers that have a bit more confidence and maybe a little bit more experience in these conditions as we start to see some high scores falling. It looks like Jin Harino, who is leading the way now at 82, it may be short-lived with some of the other drivers coming up, but certainly for Kazuhiro Kubo, it should be a good scored run. I don't think it'll be the number 1, but it's a 77, so still a very respectable score that would have put him into first place prior to Jin Harino. And that is definitely a run to be proud of and also to build on for run number 2. So, Yasuhiro Takaki.
He did spin in his warm-up lap, so the pressure's on for him right now.
He is on the acceleras. We'll see how his grip levels are managed here in run number 1. He's been given the sign. Through the chicane. Also taking that midline approach. Slow roll initiation, pushing out too much angle, and it's going to be a double spin. That is what happened in the siding lap. It happens here in the lap that counts. And Ryan, you mentioned that he spun, I think, pretty much in the same location there, so not able to get through there on the lap that counts.
Unfortunately for him, just couldn't maintain that angle to get through there, tap that outside zone marker. But didn't get in the dirt, didn't damage his car, so he's ready to try again on his second lap with a car that's intact. So at least there's that.
.230 here local time at Ebisu West Course, Nihon Matsu Prefecture. We're just right in this beautiful valley up in the mountains here. Making it official, Yasuhiro Takaki will receive a 0 for that spin, and we'll be moving on to our next driver. The last driver in this group here, Tadahiro Fukada. The Tanabe SSR on Dunlop's JZX 100 Mark II. Very familiar to fans of Formula Drift Japan, has been around for a long time and has had some success in the series. Didn't have the best start for Suzuka Twin in round number 1, but looking to pick up the pace here. 5 events in the Formula Drift Japan Championship. We are here at round number 2. And Tadahiro Fukada will take his first lap in qualifying. Midline approach, he's going to take it over to the left and initiate right at that last standing cone. The front wanted to wash out there, and he is surprisingly not able to hold that angle there. It looked a little bit wonky when he initiated, seemed a little bit tentative. The front looked like it wanted to wash out, but then as he brought the car to angle, Ryan, he just was not able to hold it, and he will receive an incomplete.
Yeah, he came in very slow, very, very conservative, and looked like he just couldn't get the car to angle. You can see there he straightened and then got a little aggressive and couldn't hold the angle at all, ended up spinning. So what I've seen so far, what we've seen so far, is drivers that are threading that needle. You know, they're walking the fine line between being too aggressive and not aggressive enough, and they're able to get through the course. If you're too aggressive, clearly you're going to spin and go off course. And if you're not aggressive enough, you don't have the momentum to get through, you end up getting on the throttle too aggressively and spinning out. So it's trying to find that fine balance between too much and not enough, and that was not enough, unfortunately.
And we are still on lap 1 if you're just joining us. And thank you for joining us no matter where you are as we get to the next group of drivers. And Ryan was just pointing out to me it looks like there is more rain in the forecast.
says 90% from now until tonight anyway.
Wonderful.
Yeah. It also says it's raining right now, though, and that's not accurate, so maybe my Canadian weather app is just not the one to be using here, perhaps.
One of the few drivers on Nexen tires here. This is Kenji Yamada, car number 888. And he is set and ready to go. And he's got the green light.
Start though.
Heading down through the chicane, Yamada trying to pick up a good qualifying position here. Snaps it early at that third standing cone. He's going to get right to the edge, but come up a little bit short in the duration of that first outside zone. Trying to keep angle in the car here. A good save on outside zone 2. He navigates outside zone 3. And if he can hold it together, and he does, he will get a scored run. So Kenji Yamada, not the prettiest, but he did manage to get through the course nonetheless without making any major mistakes. And Ryan looked like he just maybe mistimed outside zone 1 a little bit. Could have stayed in it longer there, could have been a little bit deeper.
Yeah, and what happened was leaving that so early put him on the wrong line going inside clip 1. And you can see there he kind of goes around it wrong, almost like an early apex there in road racing nomenclature. He really didn't get around it the way he should, which put him way wide for outside zone 2. The line just wasn't what it should be. He managed, because it's wet, I guess, to stretch it down there to fill outside zone 3 more or less. He got out to it, didn't really get deep into it, but at least got near it. And this is going to, like you say, get a score. He got a 62, so that will put him into a lower part of the current qualifying. You know, we got a 40, a 66, a 52, so kind of near the bottom end, but at least he's in there.
All right, so moving on to our next driver, 408, Shoya Saito, Car Guy Racing S15. Starting to see some better scores drop, some more aggressive driving, like this one right here, reaching out to outside zone 1. Oh, no. And he is not going to have the momentum to keep him pushing to inside clip 1. Looked like he started off promising, but just unable to push all the way through. So Ryan, taking a look here, what was the mistake that was made?
Well, you can see that as he initiated, he didn't have enough angle, so he had to throw more angle in the car just as he was getting to outside zone 1. And it looks like throwing that extra angle not only slowed him down too much, but you know, to stretch the drift all the way around out inside clip 1, but also over-rotated the car. So that initiation is vital. You have to have just the right speed. Again, not overshooting, but not undershooting either, and getting it to angle right away and back on throttle so that you can have the car steady, balanced, and not trying to throw more angle at it, because this surface is not really very friendly right now.
All right, so here he is, Shang Nian, the Singaporean. Very aggressive driver. You can see big flow as he pushes to outside zone 1. He's going to make it, but he's going to be way on the inside. So he initiated about right at that third standing cone, and he got way on the inside of outside zone 1. But now the second half of the course, he's able to pull it together here. Looks like he's going to maintain angle through the finish line, just going off course there towards the end. And that's more or less what we expect from Shang. And Ryan, let's take a look here. His initiation approach and the first half of the course was pretty interesting.
That was risky. Good for Nian, he pulled it off. That could have gone very, very wrong very quickly. But you can see the amount of angle that he's maintaining through there. He wasn't wide all the way out to outside zone 1, but definitely drew a smooth arc around there. Filled outside zone 2 beautifully, right on the edge of the rumble strip. Rotated late for outside zone 3, but did an okay job on it, and did okay on inside clip number 2 there. He could have filled more of outside zone number 3, but really very impressive for the amount of angle that he threw and was able to maintain from initiation on.
Well, respect all around to Shang Nian. He probably won't be our #1 qualifier, but he certainly has something to build on here, and you can tell that everybody just loves his aggressiveness and his ability to commit and push every single run. So the score is dropping now for Shang as we see the judges wrapping up, and it's going to be a 74 for Shang. So he's going to be sitting right there in the mix on his first run. Our next driver up, Yuichi Amagai, the S15 Sylvia. We've seen some great driving from him over the years here. He's just sitting outside the top 10 right now, and he has been given the green light to go on run number 1. Also heading over to that midline, he's going to throw it right at the third standing cone. Good angle there as he just dips into that first outside zone. Liking the approach, relatively smooth coming through that inside clip. And he's keeping it together here. Drops a little bit of a tire there on that second outside zone towards the end. But Ryan, this is shaping up to be a pretty solid run, and you can see navigating the course pretty cleanly there with very few mistakes, even given the rainy conditions.
Yep. I think that he could have been a little bit more precise, maybe, but he definitely was able to maintain drift, maintain angle. There were no major mistakes. He just could have been a little bit more precise on the zones and clips. Now, outside zone number 1, he had his tire right on that outside, right on the outside line of the track, which put him in a pretty good spot to get to inside clip 1. Dropped the tire in outside zone 2, didn't quite get to outside zone 3, and just off of inside clip number 2. So overall, not a terrible run. Like I say, just could have been a little bit more precise on everything, but gets himself a 73, which should have him pretty well positioned at the moment. We have quite a few drivers left to go in this first run here. About 13, 14 drivers left to go in run 1. So a lot can happen. These scores can start picking up. The track, like I said, is starting to not dry, but there's definitely less moisture on it than there was before. So we'll see how they contend with this.
Daisuke Hara, another aggressive approach, early initiation, and this looks pretty good. He's going to come up a little bit short on outside zone 1, but love the approach so far. A bit wide on that inside clip, but you can see the smoothness of the line. And he just pushed a little bit too hard on outside zone 2, and that caused some problems for him. Ryan, I did like the approach. It looked, the line that he was drawing was pretty smooth, even though he wasn't necessarily in the exact right place. But unfortunately, on outside zone 2, kind of took it over the edge for him. Yeah,
he was not as deep as Neon was in outside zone 1, a little bit inside, but was looking settled. Everything was looking good, but he just went off the track there and dropped the tire in the dirt, which unfortunately unsettled the car, and he wasn't able to maintain drift over the finish line. So will be an incomplete from him. Get a score of 0, but he will have a second run to try to redeem himself.
All right, so in the burnout box and now leaving is Kazuki Hayashi in the ZN6 86. Heading up to the start line here to take his first run of the afternoon. We are still on run number 1, but we are approaching the top 10 drivers, which means we will get to the second half once we finish that up. And he is ready to go. And out of the chicane, he done the lop driver. Very early initiation, way before the third standing cone. And he is going to suck up a cone and spit it out, but he's still maintaining good angle here through inside clip 1. Reaches out to outside zone 2. The smoothness is pretty good here, Ryan. Not a lot of major punctuations in the vehicle, and an extremely early initiation. Won't get extra points for that, but that may have been what he needed to manage the line that made him comfortable.
Yeah, maybe what he needed to feel comfortable and settled through outside zone 1. Like you say, early at basically the 3 cone, but it did send him off course. So he had 2 tires off there through outside zone 1. That'll be a big deduction on the line. He was off of inside clip number 1 as well, due to that wide line at outside zone 1. Did an okay job through the rest. The car looked pretty settled. He didn't look like he had any major corrections, just some slight bobbles there through the course, but again, getting a score, that's what counts right now.
All right, so scores coming in for Hayashi. In the new school, 86. And it's a 66. So mid-pack for him is where he starts off his campaign on run number 1. And here is the other half, Shinji Minowa. New vehicle for him, looks exactly the same. And he has had some big moments in Formula Drift Japan over the years, some great battles.
There's his wife on the left, Sayo.
And she had already gone, had her qualifying run, and now her husband gets a chance. Third standing cone initiation, beautifully executed.
Wow.
For outside zone 1. You can see a lot of confidence here, even in the wet conditions. Angling up as he gets through that first inside clip. Nice job navigating. You could see the sun shining off of the paint as the conditions starting to change here. But for Shinji Minowa, a solid performance. As you can certainly tell, the track time and the comfort level with his vehicle shining through here in run number 1.
I don't know that I could have asked for any more of outside zone 1 from him. If you see there, the tire's right on the rumble strip, all the way through outside zone 1. Gets himself to inside clip 1 nicely, just off of it slightly. Tire on the rumble strip at outside zone number 2. Tire on the rumble strip at outside zone number 3. Tire on the rumble strip for inside clip number 2. Really great run, especially considering the conditions and the driving that we've seen from other drivers up until now. So really, really well done from Shinji Minowa, and his seat time on this track is really shining through right now.
Well, it certainly seems like he is going to be a contender for the number 1 qualifying position. We currently have our top score right now as an 82, and he's just going to fall outside of that with an 81. So Jin Horino will still be our top scoring driver, but just by 1 point. So that's a great job right there by Shinji Minowa, and he certainly has something to build off here as we move on to our next driver. This is Kazuya Matsukawa. This is the other AE85 Trueno. And he is ready to go here. On the Durezas, snaps it at the third standing cone. He's letting it float out, but he's going to come up a little bit short on outside zone number 1. Navigates through that first inside clip and comes up a little bit short on outside zone number 2 as well. A little bit better on outside zone 3, but still a bit short here. Just trying to get through the course as he hits that last inside clip. A little bit of a correction there through the finish line. But again, Ryan, as you said, just trying to get a scored run here. And let's take a look here at the replay of his run.
Yeah, his outside zone 1 is leaving quite a bit to be desired, especially after we just watched Shinji Minowa go through there. So he's quite a bit off of it in the beginning and then gets even further away from it, which puts him on a poor line through inside clip 1, sends him wide before outside zone number 2, but manages to get out to where he needs to sort of be with the car, and not the most accurate here. It could have been more precise through the course. Definitely left some points on the board on the line side of things, and we'll see how he falls here. 66, same as his teammate, n'est-ce pas? Yes, it is. Same score as his teammate, so both of them get a 66 in their AE85s. Or
All
sorry,
right.
not 85. The other one was the
86.
86, my bad.
All right, so we have now broken into the top 10. Yoshitaka Ogane in the RX-7, ready to go. He's always been a really strong driver here, a lot of confidence. Heading down, looking good so far. Woo. And big angle, not going to hold it though. Very aggressive approach, going for something big there, and he's going to stuff it into the mud. And it'll just be cosmetic there, nothing super crazy. But really love that aggressive approach, but unfortunately just, oh, no. Oh, that hurts.
To that beautiful front bumper. It looks like his radiator up front is jammed full of mud as well.
Walk us through this, Ryan. What happened here?
Just over aggressive, too much speed, big initiation that the car could not sustain. Ends up losing traction and spinning out. It's just a little too aggressive. You know, that's that fine line that Nian seems to have walked really well with that initiation that he did that still allowed him to maintain the angle somehow through outside zone 1. But Ogane here had to drive over his front bumper just for good measure at the end.
So track crew cleaning up the mess left here by Ogane. Unfortunately, he will have that incomplete on run number 1. but I'm certain we'll see him back and he'll be able to get a score on the board. And we will move on to our next driver as the course starts to clear. You saw him in his warm-up lap looking pretty good out there. Naoto Suinaga, Team Kazama in the S15. Waiting at the line for his opportunity here in run number 1.
Boss man Kubo has a 76, so depends how he wants to treat the boss man today. Does he want to beat him or let him stay on top?
You beat him. You beat him.
Beat him? All right, we'll see what happens here with Suinaga, who also has a lot of seat time here.
Suinaga looking very aggressive. Early initiation. Just flirting with that outside zone, but coming up a little bit short. Navigating through that first inside clip, pushing out, and just gets in to that second outside zone. Fills the third a little bit better there and making some adjustments as he gets through that final inside clip. Good aggressive approach. Obviously some areas where he could have improved, especially in outside zone number 1. But looking for bragging rights here, trying to beat a 76.
Yeah, he could have been a little bit deeper in outside zone 1. He did get close to it, but didn't quite get into the rumble strip. Was really wide on inside clip 1, so line side of things, he's going to have some deductions there. Didn't quite get onto the rumble strip at outside zone 2. Late rotation there for outside zone 3. Pretty good job at inside clip number 2. So some areas that he did pretty well on, some other areas that he left some points on the board. But he will get a score, and as we've seen, that's kind of the most important thing right now at this point of qualifying.
Score starting to come in for Naoto Suinaga, and it's a 75, so he's going to be 1 point short of his boss, and I guess that's okay.
Yeah.
Next driver up has definitely made a very loud approach in FD Japan. That is Benjamin Chiam. Here he goes. Very aggressive driver coming down, and he is going to take out that first cone on the outside zone 1. Heading to outside zone 2. And I think the track workers actually sent him a bit early before everybody was prepared down here. But he is nonetheless, again, showing that very aggressive approach on the Velinos. He just went a little bit deep into the first outside zone, Ryan, but overall we've seen Benjamin really improve, and he's become one of the more aggressive drivers in FD Japan.
Yeah, he did a great job, especially after watching his warm-up lap. He's very aggressive. He knows what kind of grip is out there, where he can push it, and where he has to hold back a little bit, and he's able to put together a pretty decent run.
So Benjamin, our other Singaporean besides Shang in FD Japan. And we do see a few Supras, but he has been a pretty regular appearance in FD Japan. And an 82 for Benjamin. An 82, a very solid score for him. That's going to put him right up there. That is going to tie him with Jin Harino for the #1 spot. And they'll be looking for that second run to be the tiebreaker so long as those runs hold. Our next set of drivers out, I think they will give us all 6, and if they do, it's going to be Kanta Yanaguida, Andrew Gray, Hayato Miyoshi, Katsuhiro Ueo, Koichi Yamashita, and our #1 driver at current, Wataru Masuyama, who has been an absolute killer in qualifying. And you can see Kanta Yanaguida in the burnout box trying to get some heat in those tires. As we mentioned, he is running the Velinos, and you can see that making up a good number of the drivers in the top 6, except for one, with Miyoshi is on good ride. So here comes Kanta Yanaguida up to the line for run #1. And here we go. Yanaguida was on a tear in Suzuka. Can he continue it? Early initiation. Very smooth. Comes up a little bit short on that first outside zone, but looking good so far. Trying to hold it together here. Our first puff of smoke. And unfortunately, the smoke actually looks like it's coming from his car.
Yep.
And he is going to have to shut it down. We saw a puff of smoke on outside zone 1. He smartly takes the car over to the edge of the course and drives off, and it looks like he does have something going on with his vehicle that caused that big puff of smoke right on inside clip number 1.
Yeah, there's smoke coming out from under the hood as he straightened up. Not the best looking kind of problem. I don't know.
They're checking the track right now to see if there's any oil on the surface.
What do you see here on this inside clip 1?
Well, it just looks like he
Boom.
probably clutch kicked to get the car going and whatever. Yeah, you can see smoke up from under the hood there. Definitely not from the tires, unfortunately.
Hopefully there's no oil on the surface on the ground, but they're currently walking through right now to verify.
That does not look good for him, unfortunately.
All right, so while we take the opportunity to find out what's going on with Kanta Yanaguida, let's take a quick commercial break. We'll come right back here, finish up the first run at qualifying of the G-Shock Presents Formula Drift Japan here at Ebisu Circuit. So Andrew Gray out of the burnout box up to the start line.
He's made some big changes since round 1 to his car. New engine, new turbo, a fresh tune. I think he changed a couple of other things as well. I don't remember exactly everything, but they made some significant changes. He said that the car wasn't what he wanted it to be after round 1. He wanted it to be more drivable, a little easier to follow slower cars, and see how he does here in qualifying. 3-time
Formula Drift Japan champion Andrew Gray looking to build up here. Slow rolls initiation right to the inside of outside zone number 1, hitting inside clip 1. Angles up, but is able to hold it as he reaches out to outside zone 2. A lot of wheel speed and a great job navigating from one side of the course to the next and not really phased there on the second half is Andrew Gray. Should be a good first run from him. But Ryan, he did come up a little bit short on that first outside zone.
Yes, he did. Did a pretty good job of walking that line that we were talking about earlier. Got the car to angle pretty well. Left outside zone 1 early, although he did get kind of close to the edge of it. Early apex that inside clip 1, which sent him a little bit wide, stalled him up a bit, but he was able to get to outside zone number 2, number 3, and get the tire up on the rumble strip at inside clip. So overall, not an awful first attempt. It should give him a decent score, and I think he will be happy with it, but we'll probably push harder on the second one. Let's see how it all adds up.
So Andrew Gray waiting for the scores to drop here as he finishes up his first run. And looks like the final score coming in, it's an 81, so it'll put him up there right near the top. The smoothness and consistency playing in his favor here. And he will go back as we move on to our next driver, Hayato Miyoshi. Now this guy is not afraid to push it here. We've seen some incredible initiations from him. I don't know what approach he'll take here in the wet conditions, but let's see him go as he heads out of the chicane into the middle. Snaps it nice and early at that third standing cone, and he's going to get right into that outside zone. Great job there by Miyoshi. And the line he's drawing to that inside clip 1 is keeping it tight. This is loading up to be one of the better runs. A little bit of a correction there, but really filling the zones and looking very solid here. About what you'd expect from car 344, Hayato Miyoshi in that R34 Skyline. The only one here this weekend. And Ryan, that was a good example of just being able to assert control over the vehicle even in these wet conditions.
Yeah, he did a good job of putting the car where it needs to be. You can see outside zone 1, gets out wide right away. Just a tire over the rumble strip, but really great job placing his car in the second hash mark at inside clip number 1 on the rumble strip. Maybe a little bit late for outside zone number 2. Outside zone number 3 did a pretty good job, and tire on the rumble strip at inside number 3, just right on the edge of the rumble strip there, actually.
So 82 is our highest marker so far. We've got 2 drivers with that, Jin Hirino and Benjamin Chiam, sitting in that number 1 spot. Will one of these top 4 drivers break it? Hayato Miyoshi's score starting to drop for him. looking pretty solid here, and he will overtake both of those drivers to become our current leader in qualifying so far, and that is a solid pickup for him, as the much lower scores overall certainly playing into the favor of these last few drivers here, as the conditions have stabilized and become a little bit more grippy here. And this is another extremely exciting driver who had a solid Suzuka round. It is Katsuhiro Yuichi.
He had a wild practice run earlier too, so let's see what he does.
Also early initiation, good angle there, a little bit of adjustment. Floats it right out to outside zone number 1. He goes a little bit deeper than he needed to, but he's keeping good angle in the car here and stretching out to outside zone 2. Really manipulating the vehicle into the right spot on outside zone 3. That final inside clip, he keeps the car completely torqued all the way through the finish line, and a solid run from him. We're seeing a lot of guys really pick up the pace here, and Katsuhiro Yuichi, the legend of the sport, having a great Suzuka round and trying to continue that momentum here at Ebisu.
There's a heck of an intake in that back window. Look at his initiation getting to outside zone number 1. He did overshoot it slightly, but really did a great job overall through this run. Could have been a little bit tighter inside clip 1, but on the rumble strip at outside zone 2, on the rumble strip at outside zone 3, very accurate through the second portion of this course there after inside clip 1. Really great job, but I'd rather see him drop a tire just barely on the outside of outside zone 1 than be way on the inside like we saw a few other drivers. So really very precise, considering the weather, you know, and as I've said, watching the other drivers, what they've been putting together, that's a really high quality run that he did there.
And it will pay off in his favor, an 86 for the driver known for driving 86s early on in his career. He will now become our #1 qualifier, and that seems to be well deserved there, checking off a lot more boxes than the other drivers in those low to mid 80s. Number 2 in points right now is Koichi Yamashita, the Weldwork, Arai, and Velino driver. The JZX 100 Mark II has been a classic vehicle for him. Sans wing this time as he comes down, also initiating at that third standing cone, and he's going to get pretty deep into that first outside zone, but he's going to push a little bit too hard by doing so, miss that inside clip completely. So he's leaving some points on the table there with line, but you can tell the aggression is certainly there from Yamashita, who has just been an absolute beast in FD Japan, and your current number 2 in points.
Wow, that was aggressive. I didn't expect the car to actually stay on the track the way that he came in at initiation. He did overshoot inside clip 1 by a very large margin, but look at the way he's getting through outside zone 1 here. May have had 2 tires, definitely 1, but this is the biggest error he made definitely through this track, way wide. But he manages to get on the rubble strip in the general vicinity of outside zone 2. He gets to the outside zone 3 rumble strip as well. Decent job at inside clip number 2.
So I don't think just on principle of missing outside zone 1, he's going to be your #1 line driver, Ryan.
No, definitely not.
On the basis of that, but it certainly still should be a decent score, and you can tell that he does have the aggression there. So if he can fine-tune a couple little areas, he may get back up there. It's a 79, still respectable, and he will move on and get ready for run number 2. Our final driver of run number 1 is your current points leader, Wataru Masuyama. The classic teal green vehicle stands out quite remarkably, and a lot of it is because of his driving.
Expectations are high, Ryan.
Expectations are high. Let's see how he deals with the wet. Snaps it. He tries to throw some big angle in the car. He's going to come up a little bit short on that first outside zone. The initiation was aggressive. Gets an e-brake pull there right in front of inside clip number 1. Flirting with the line on outside zone 2 and 3. And as he wraps it up, I don't think it's going to be our #1 qualifier, but as you can see, as the bumper is taped on there, after having made some contact with the wall earlier on, he will still get a pretty solid score, but he'll have some room and a goal to achieve on his second run.
Bobble there on initiation. Didn't get out to outside zone 1 fully and left what he did achieve early, which made him go to inside clip 1 on an early apex line. Didn't really set him up very well for outside zone number 2, and he had to try to get the car. He kind of had to work it into position as opposed to letting it naturally flow out there, and that's going to definitely affect his score, and his line score was mildly affected as well, as he was not able to be as accurate as he could have been through a lot of the track.
All right, we are being told that we're going to roll right through this commercial break and continue on with the second run of qualifying as Wataru Masuyama drops a 74. So he will pick up a solid score, but it will be Katsuhiro Ueno, who is our current qualifying leader. He has set the standard for an 86, and we will start all over again and head back up to the bottom of the grid with Yoshio Sake in the S15 Sylvia. I did get tapped on the shoulder, said we're moving, yes? Okay, cool, I interpreted that correctly. So let's get it going, boys. We don't want a 4-hour qualifying. No more spotting laps unless something crazy happens, but right now the weather has stabilized, and the first run was all spotting laps followed by qualifying runs. This one will just be qualifying runs. Run number 2, here we go. Yoshio Sake. Early initiation. Looks like he's handling this pretty well. That's a pretty good job on outside zone 1. Trying to find the right line to inside clip. Manages to get out there. Fluidity looking okay. A couple little perturbations in the car as he moves around. But he started us off with the scored run of a 71. And Ryan, my intuition is saying that he's going to improve on that.
I think you're right, Ryan. Pretty smooth throughout the run. Not too bad on accuracy on line as well. You can see here as he comes down to initiation, gets the car to angle really well, and minimal movement in the car there. Could have been closer on inside clip 1. Went a little bit wide on that. On the rumble strip there, but could have been a little bit deeper in that rumble strip. Pretty good job on outside zone 3, and nice and tight on inside clip number 2. So left a few points on the board here and there, but overall, pretty solid run for him. It was Sake.
So he will improve by 8 points. That's a pretty marked improvement for him. Great job. He will be the first driver to finish this afternoon. Got to love that photo. And Yoshio Sake with the 79. Moving right along, car number 36, Kazumi Takahashi in the JZX 100 Mark II. He's got a 66. And here he goes for run number 2. He's got the comms on board.
Not very aggressive on initiation.
A little bit of a bobble there on initiation, trying to find the right path here as he leaves outside zone 1 into inside clip. Moving around, you can see a little bit of adjustments and lacking some of the fluidity. Better on this section of the course here, and so trying to better that 66.
He may get deducted there on his run up to initiation. Could have been more aggressive. Wasn't really looking like he was full throttle. And that's going to hurt him slightly there, especially that initiation with the bobble. Definitely on the fluidity side of things from the style judge. Could have been deeper in 1. Didn't do too bad on inside clip 1. Got on the rumble strip at outside zone 2, but could have been deeper there as well. Outside zone 3 was pretty solid, and then came down the hill to pretty good inside clip 2. Just some fluidity issues there. The car wasn't really looking settled. Moved around quite a bit, so just have to clean that up.
Well, Ryan, just looking at some of the numbers coming through and some of the previous scores, we've got 25 actual scores after run number 1. So there's 7 open spots for the incompletes that have happened so far. It's a 69, so he should be good into tomorrow's competition unless something crazy happens. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 incompletes. That's a lot.
Yes, it is.
Opportunities here for those incompletes to bump drivers off. This was the guy that went into the dirt wall in his spotting lap, Atsushi Wachi.
And
a lot of pressure
his first
here.
run too.
A lot of pressure. This is going to be his weekend right here. So far, so good. You can see dirt still underneath the car. Oh no! And we've seen that from quite a few drivers after they leave that inside clip, not able to maintain the grip. And unfortunately for him, that is going to be all she wrote. It's a skipped run number 1 and an incomplete on run number 2.
He didn't look like he came in with full commitment, and that may have hurt him. He might have had to try to get on the throttle and aggressively accelerate here, trying to get to the inside clip. And then as he came in there, was on the wrong line. Had to try to slow the car down and over-rotate it looks like. And unfortunately for him, he did not have a score in his first run because he skipped the first run. And he'll receive a 0 here as well, so that's double zeros for him. And he will not qualify for this weekend's competition.
Bummer of a weekend for him. And unfortunately, that first run really wreaking havoc and causing some problems for him. And the pressure in run number 2 was not able to pull it off. So our next driver also has an incomplete. That's Yoshimi Mori in the S15. A lot of these second runs are going to be about pressure. Let's see how Mori handles it. Initiates at that second standing cone. Pretty good job navigating that first outside zone. So far, so good. Slick area of the course. Pulls it off. Gets out there. Line's looking pretty good here, Ryan.
It is.
And it looks like he is going to log a score as he gets through the finish line. And a pretty good improvement for him. Obviously, the much wetter conditions in run number 1 not serving in his favor, but run number 2, he comes through in a pressure-filled situation.
Yeah, he did a great job here. I think, like you said, the pressure didn't really affect him too much. Maybe it helped him a little bit, but looking at outside zone 1, just a tire slightly over, left it very slightly earlier than he should have. Put him on a slightly tighter line for inside clip 1, but he managed to do a pretty good job through there. And coming through the outside zones, did a good job through there also. Looks like he has his car positioned properly. Just slightly off of inside clip 1. Would have liked to see him a little bit closer to that rumble strip. He just touched that rumble strip at outside zone 2, so 74.
A respectable score for Yoshimi Mori, 74, and that should put him in. We've got quite a few zeros, and that is really going to shake things up. Our high score is an 86, currently held by Katsuhiro Yuichi. And here is car number 999. Now this score is very, very low. He's got a 40 on run number 1.
Ooh.
So Yasuhiro Takano in the JZX 100 needs to perform here. He gets that early initiation. He's got big angle. Can he hold it? He's not going to hold it. And that is going to be our second driver potentially out of competition. It would be a miracle if the 40 held, Ryan. We've never really seen a score that low, but crazier things have happened here. Looks like he just pushed a little bit too hard on outside zone 1.
I think he did. You can see the car started to over-rotate before he even got to the zone. Wasn't able to hold it, unfortunately.
So making it official there. And again, as we mentioned, a lot of these runs are very pressure-filled, especially for the lower half of the field. Monkey Ito, next driver up, car number 93 in the JCX 100. He is also sitting on an incomplete.
This is a car we didn't see yesterday in practice, I don't think, but he showed up this morning and did a good job in practice. See how he does on his second qualifying run here.
So here we go. Can he pull it together here? Make it into the top 32. Looks pretty comfortable so far, but then it looks like he got on the brakes there after he initiated. And wow, he actually out of sight there, moves some dirt around and goes up the wall a little bit.
Pretty high up that wall.
Ryan, let's take a look at what happens here. He comes down that first section of the track, looks aggressive, and then it looks like he braked right after he initiated.
Yeah, maybe not the best move, but maybe he felt like he was coming in too hard. Yeah, caused the car to over-rotate. Got on throttle, and probably should have gotten off throttle a little sooner. You can see he got up there pretty high on that bank, considering the speed that he was going there. It looked like he was on throttle trying to keep it off the wall, but as it spun and started pointing towards it, he wasn't able to get off throttle, and it kept driving towards it.
So the judge is making it official there. Another driver knocked out of competition. we'll have a little bit of cleanup here, but it doesn't look like anything super substantial. Just a marker for outside zone number 1 being reassembled, and maybe a little bit of dirt pushed off.
So he won't qualify, but at least his car is still drivable. Didn't break anything, didn't hurt anything, and that's sometimes that's the main thing, right? You're able to drive your car away afterwards.
Car number 654, Koji Kitagawa, he's got a low score as well. It's a 52, so he'd like to see some improvement here. Let's see how he manages with a little bit different conditions here. A bit more grip. Let's see if he can get above that 52 and give himself some breathing room here. Slow rolls it. Oh, he understeers, and it is probably not going to improve. And in fact, he's going to spin out way deep in inside clip number 1. So the first run will have to hold for him. It's a 52. It's razor thin margins, if that. Let's take a look, Ryan, and walk us through what happened here.
Yeah, he didn't look like he got the car to initiate originally, and that understeer you're talking about, he ended up having to get on throttle to try to get the car sideways. By the time he got sideways, it was far too late, and just couldn't make it around that corner, unfortunately, so that'll be an incomplete from him.
Judge is making it official, incompletes across the board, and our next driver up could potentially improve here. He's got to be more well-suited to the changing track conditions than just about anybody. It's car number 4, Nobushige Kubo in the S15, a 76. He set the pace and the standard for the lower half of the qualifying grid with a 76 in run number 1, and now he has an opportunity to challenge our current leaders. Let's see what he can do here in run number 2. Initiates nice and early, good angle, floats it out. Beautiful job on outside zone number 1. Little bit deep on inside clip, but he's going to just get a tire into outside zone 2, and he may improve. It may not be our number 1 qualifier, but he may find himself in a better position overall as Kubo lives up to the legend and comes out without a spotting lap and lays down a solid run here at his home track.
So you can see here, it gets the car to angle really well. Beautiful job on outside zone number 1. He might have left it a little bit early. Off of inside clip 1, a little bit of a bobble there. Didn't fill outside zone 2. Did pretty well on outside zone 3 though. Inside clip 1, he was just off of the rumble strip with that front left tire. So he'll get let's see, his line score is slightly worse than his first one, unfortunately. So as we input our scores, see how they all add up.
All right, so he had a 76 on run number 1. He will improve by a pretty significant number there. It's going to be 5 overall points. It gets him into the 80s, which is right up there with the top guys. So it's an 81 for Kubo. And now we will move on down to car number 7. This was another incomplete, and we saw a succession of 6 incompletes for the next 6 drivers. This is SunJoo Choi in the RX-7. Sans the front bumper, and as Ryan mentioned, this is our sole driver from Korea.
Seoul.
Oh yeah,
Seoul
you like that?
That was nicely done, right?
I didn't even mean that. And he's going to get a really light initiation here with big angle that he's not going to be able to hold. And unfortunately, it's going to be back-to-back incompletes for him. He will be out of competition. And Ryan, this seemed pretty similar to the first run. He just not able to handle these wet conditions in such a way that he could get a scored run on the board.
Yeah, it looked like there was the confidence level wasn't quite there as he came down to the initiation area. You can see his initiation was a very straight line affair, whereas most drivers are putting a little bit of a flick in there just to get the car out to outside zone 1. But he was a little too calm, maybe a little bit more aggression.
You want some more zest?
He needed to, I think, to get that car really to get settled, get it out wide, but just over-rotated.
All right, so last time this driver flirted with the dirt wall a little bit.
He did.
But no damage sustained. He's back out there. It's Go Kamiya in the Brid V35 Skyline. The pressure is on, baby. He's got an incomplete on run number 1. Go coming down. He does get that early initiation. It's a slow roll. He's going to go a bit deep into outside zone number 1, but he's already made it past the part of the course where he incompleted the first time around. Things starting to stack up here. Looks like he's going to make it through. Transitions to outside zone 3, comes up a little bit short. Final inside clip, and 3-2-1. He's going to have a score and likely be in competition. Now it's just a matter of where the score is going to fall. Ryan?
Certainly is loud, Ryan. I think the wet track conditions right now are working to his advantage, his benefit. You can see his initiation was not the most aggressive. He did go wide on outside zone 1, dropped 1, maybe 2 tires there. It's kind of hard to tell from that vantage point. Looking at his inside clip 1, didn't do the best job there, but got pretty deep in outside zone 2. Managed to get the car out to near the outside zone 3 rumble strip and did okay through the finish line.
All right, so he is able to avoid the pressure-filled situation of an incomplete that needed to be reconciled. He was able to do that on run number 2. And now let's see where the score falls for Kamiya. It's a 71, and that should be more than enough to get him in. So great job by him. Next car at the line, 963, Daiichi Mizutani in the S15 Sylvia. As we mentioned, Ryan, a succession of 6 incompletes, starting with SunJoo Choi, and this was another one. Daiichi has got some redemption here. Can he perform? Coming down through the chicane, midline approach, and he is going to initiate right to that outside zone, but come up a bit short there. And he's going to be really tight. Makes a big mistake. Oh, and I think that's going to be too much to overcome. I see a lot of you guys putting your pens down, so I think that that's going to fall into the incomplete category. And Ryan, tell us if that if you are verifying that.
Yes, that is correct.
So what happened here to Daiichi?
Well, he was on the wrong line coming inside clip 1, and when you get pinched off like that, it's really hard to get the car rotated without over-rotating in these wet conditions, especially with the rumble strip that's there. And it looks like he may have understeered, and then just things didn't work out for him, unfortunately.
Things didn't work out.
Things didn't work
That
out.
is a good way to describe it. All right, so Daiichi, unfortunately, 2 back-to-back incompletes. He will be out of competition. We will move on to our next driver. It's Yusuke Casaba. Nope, we are skipping him over.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Is
retired.
Is he? Oh, retired. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, retired.
Boom. Okay. Unfortunately, that means he is out of competition. All right. So it's Masakazu Ohashi in the S15. Incomplete on run number 1. Leaves the chicane. Midline approach. Early initiation. He is going to come up short on outside zone 1. He's flowing to inside clip 1, but he's going to run a bit wide here. He's going to have to try to make an adjustment. He's going to get into that zone way early. And he's going to come up a little bit short on outside zone 3, but he's looking to improve on a 0, so he's going to do that. The incomplete will be eliminated. He will finish up with whatever score comes from this run. And Ryan, let's take a look at this again. What were some of the mistakes made? What were some of the positives of this run?
So he didn't get out to outside zone 1 really well. He left what he was close to early, and then you can see that it really sent him on an early line to inside clip 1, which sent him way wide before outside zone 2. And unfortunately, that kind of ruined the flow for that section of the course. He was able to do okay for outside zone 3 and get himself positioned there, and didn't do too bad on inside clip number 2, but that's going to be a huge stall up for him. Line-wise, it's going to hurt as well.
All right, so his last and final chance, he was able to come through with the scored run. Let's see how Masakazu Ohashi pulls it together with a 61. All right, so a 61 will have to be the score that makes it through to the top 32. As we mentioned, we had quite a few incompletes. Masami Noah had one of those in the last run. Looks like she was going to pull it off, but unfortunately she did have just a few too many mistakes. Here it is in run number 2. Can she make it in? Heading down, real easy initiation. Oh no, the front end washes out. And unfortunately, it is going to be a back-to-back unscored run for her. Deeply disappointing, as the weather just too much to handle for some drivers. And unfortunately for her, that incomplete will put her out of competition.
Looked like she was not committing enough coming down the hill. She wasn't coming in with enough speed. You can see the car wouldn't really maintain angle once she got it to angle. It stopped straight, and she ended up going off the course there. More speed would have helped there. More commitment would have helped. But again, very difficult to judge, to gauge how fast you should really go. You know, I guess in a way it's better to stay on the inside of the track and not go wide enough than go too wide and end up on that dirt hill and risk having a bigger issue with a rollover potentially, or driving up the side of it and damaging your car. So that's that tricky line you need to walk.
Tough break for her. We will not see the husband-wife combo in the top 32. And so moving on to our next driver, who does have a 74 on run number 1. It's car number 14, Tomohiro Murayama in the S14. He's been given the clear to go. Let's see if he can improve on that. He's got a solid score so far. He had a nice line last time around and was pretty smooth. Very aggressive approach. Snaps it, and he's just going to get to the edge of outside zone 1. And having not seen him many times before, I like his approach here. You can see the fluidity is there. E-brake pull just leaving outside zone 3. And 2 aggressive runs from him. He'll be in competition no matter what. It's just going to be a matter of where this run number 2 falls with respect to the judges.
Like you said, very aggressive initiation. Came in, really threw the car aggressively, but wasn't able to get all the way out to outside zone 1. Did a pretty decent job, but missed inside clip 1. Was out on that rumble strip. He got to outside zone number 2, but way too early, so ended up leaving just after the beginning of that zone. Pretty solid through the rest of the run, but accuracy was lacking a little bit. Could have put the car in some better positions throughout the run to get that higher score.
All right, so a 73, so it'll be his first run that actually holds for him. He had a 74 on run number 1, but 2 nice runs back-to-back from him. A good setup for tomorrow. He'll probably sit mid to high pack when all things are settled down. But our next driver up does have quite a bit of pressure on him. He's a regular in the series. It is Takatoshi Maeda, and he does have an incomplete. Here we go, through the chicane, Maeda heads down into initiation, snaps it back around right at that second standing cone. Pretty decent job on outside zone 1, though he does come up a bit short. He flies through inside clip 1, however, and you can see he's going to be way too early into outside zone 2. So trying to, hold on to it, buddy, hold on to it. He's got that incomplete. It looks like he will get a score, but some serious line mistakes, I imagine, Ryan, from outside zone 1 to inside clip 1 and outside zone 2.
You are correct, Ryan. Not the prettiest, but he is going to get a score, like you said, better than the 0 that he had previously. Initiation, you know, from the video here, it looks like he was aggressive enough, but in person watching it, he didn't look like he was really fully committed to initiation, to the run-up. And missing outside zone 1, sending him on that wrong line through inside clip 1, really, really wide, and being very, very early on that rumble strip, which he essentially missed outside zone number 2. Didn't do too bad on 3 and inside clip number 2, but could have definitely cleaned that up a lot.
So it's going to be a 60. That's going to be the number he'll have to hold to see if he makes it into qualifying. If you are just joining us, we are just about halfway through run number 2. Katsuhiro Yoshio is our current leader in qualifying with the score of 86. And Ryan, I have to think that that is potentially going to be tested here as we're starting to see some of these drivers get a bit more aggressive here in run number 2. Our next driver up does have a 58, so he's looking to improve on that. This is Tetsuya Kume in the S14 Sylvia. Quick snap, tries to get it to angle, and he's just going to be right on the inside of outside zone 1. Pushing through inside clip. A bit of an understeer there. He does make a correction. So he's got that 58. I still see all the judges writing down scores, so it does not seem like they will incomplete it, but I'm not 100% about that. Let's take a look at the replay here again, Ryan.
All right. Outside zone 1, he did he had an aggressive initiation, as you can see, but the car didn't quite get to angle as much as you'd think it would. Maybe the track is gripping up more than these drivers expect. You can see it's really starting to dry up, and right there, got pretty straight, but I'll have to confer with the rest of the judges here. They're slapping their heads thinking he had it. He was so close, but it does look like the track is getting way grippier than it has been, and drivers are...
Now, in the really wet conditions, Ryan, you guys had, you were giving some allotments for mistakes, and maybe something that in dry conditions would be an incomplete, wouldn't necessarily in those conditions. Now that the course is drying up, does that start to peel back a little bit and you become a little bit more?
Yeah, I think we're going to stick with the fact that we scored similar runs in the past, during this session. So we'll just have to have a look at how serious that was to deduct from our individual criteria.
So still a big mistake. He does have that 58. It'd be tough to imagine that he's going to get much higher than that, as starting to see some scores coming in. Thanks for joining us online. If you're watching on the Formula Drift website or on Facebook, great to have you, especially everybody watching back home in the wee hours of the morning. And it's a 58 for Tetsuya Kume. Same. Well, this car is really fun to wait for, and I have to imagine that after the great run that he had in run number 1, that put him right at the top at that point in competition. The 75 is not going to hold here for Kazuya Iizuka in the DBA F5 CY RF Audi A5. Here we go, run number 2 for Iizuka. Gets that initiation, and great job on outside zone 1. Uh-oh, the front end was trying to wash out there. He's tight on inside clip 1, and he was not ready for that. It looks like the wetter conditions were more suited to him and that vehicle, but he does have the 75. So that is the first time we've seen a driver get on the inside of the first inside clip, Ryan. And so the changing conditions certainly playing with these drivers here.
Yeah, you can see as he was coming down to initiation, he was on throttle, he lifted, then he got back on throttle again in a weird, I don't know what that was, but he did a good job on outside zone 1, and then he just lost the front end coming to inside clip, and it looks like he lost his confidence, slowed down, and wasn't able to wrap the car around inside clip 1, and ended up on the inside there where he hit inside clip 1 with the side of his car. So definitely an incomplete. But again, this track is gripping up. I'm starting to see some dry patches out there, and that is definitely going to change how people drive the course. But
well, it's going to change now because now it's raining again.
Oh, it's raining again. You just yeah, here we go. Never mind. Forget everything I just said.
The rain was like, shut your mouth, yeah. Ryan L.
How dare you talk about me drying up? No way. Yeah, look at it coming down now. What do you think about that, Ryan? Look at it coming down.
Well, the excitement of the drier conditions is short-lived, but we were really flying through this second run without those spotting laps. We'll have to see how, if or not, that does not continue here on the second run. Our next driver up as we get everything situated here with the tow truck changing positions on the course is going to be Manabu Fujinaka. He is 68 in run number 1. And just to give you a heads up, if you're following, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 incompletes in the remaining drivers. So we boiled that down, and it looks like we will have a full field. It's just going to be, where are these scores going to drop? Here is Fujinaka, 68 on run number 1. And pretty well navigated, given that the conditions are just basically, he's guessing. And it does get the best of him at inside clip 1. So, again, the inconsistency of the conditions, certainly it's really hard to blame the drivers at this point on this particular lap because, it's hard to know what to expect. But what happens here, Ryan?
Well, like I said earlier, you have to have your car settled when you go over that inside clip. You can see there he started to rotate the car by inside clip, and it's just a super slippery area where you can't do that. You have to have the angle set, You have to be on throttle already. The car has to be really settled in its rotation, and the weight balance has to be really kind of even as you go through there, or else you're going to end up in a spin like that, because it is so slippery through certain sections of this track, that being one of them.
Well, it's a good thing that a lot of these drivers do have scores in run number 1, because certainly the weather changing here abruptly is going to play a role. This driver, Minori Tohsaka, has a score of 68 as well. And
Woo!
it's going to be...
That's not good.
Oh, crap.
Oh, wow. Ooh, that was very close. That was very close, Ryan.
Sorry, everybody at home. That was just a natural reaction there. That was a very hard hit into the wall. Let's take a look at this. What happened here, Ryan?
I think he was probably expecting it to be way grippier than it was. Just came in with way too much speed, and that was scary. He managed to not roll over, but that car definitely rode that entire wall. Yeah, that was scary. So luckily for him, kept it on all 4 wheels. Kind of stuck right now, but they might be able to get him out without the tow truck. And it looks like we're going to commercial, Ryan.
And we are back here at the G-Shock Presents Formula Drift Japan Championship Round 2 at Ebisu Circuit. And Ryan, it's just gotten really torrential here over the past 5 or so minutes. We were flowing really well through that second run of qualifying, and then we got hit with some pretty crazy rain. We're starting to see some standing water in certain areas of the course. A lot of these drivers have seen a spotting lap, and they're going to continue to run through qualifying. This is a driver who does have a lot of pressure on him in this second run. It is Shinichiro Saito, a 0 on run number 1. Initiates right before the standing 1 cone, and it looks like he is not going to be able to pull it off in run number 2 either. So it's going to be 2 incompletes for him. Tough break there, Ryan, and you know, as a driver, and now the rain has stopped again, but we just got a big flood of water there. You know, as a driver, what's the best way to prepare for these kind of variable conditions, run to run like this?
There really isn't much you can do not knowing what the surface condition is. You know, it's something you have to feel out from lap to lap. You can look at the surface, but what is it really going to give you in terms of grip? You know, what are your tires like? How's your car set up? So many different things coming into play here. Unfortunately for him, misjudged. Yeah, unfortunate.
Tetsuya Iha. I keep wanting to say Yeehaw because Jin Harino is the next driver up. But Tetsuya Iha in the crown. He's got an incomplete as well. Come on, man. You can do it. Initiates right past the 3rd standing cone. It's not looking good. And the rain claiming another victim here. Tetsuya Iha. Back-to-back incompletes. And Ryan, it looks like just the conditions that we're starting to dry up, grip up a little bit now, are back to very slippery and wet.
Yes. The drivers that were just before this torrential downpour, I think, had the best conditions for potentially putting down a good lap, and we did see some decent scores before that rain started. And I don't know if we'll get back to that. We only have, what, 15, 18 drivers left or something like that. It's not looking good for it to dry up in that amount of time. So looks like the rest of our day here is going to be pretty wet. Whether it stays this level of wet or if we get another downpour, that's yet to be seen. But it's definitely not going to get any better than this.
Well, according to my calculations, my rough math, we have 29 logged scores, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 incompletes.
Okay. So we potentially could come out of this with a top 32.
We could, yeah. I could be off 1 or 2 here, but that's just rough math on the back of the napkin.
All right.
All right, next driver up here, Jin Harino. He's already got a score. This is really just about feeling out the conditions, maybe some practice for tomorrow.
Wow.
And making it look easy here. Flowing through the very slippery parts of the course. Just absolutely looking really solid here. drops the tire on outside zone 2, but very exciting to watch as Jin going full aggression across the board. An 82 on run number 1, and Ryan, he really handled that first outside zone extremely well.
This is a man that is clearly comfortable in wet conditions. That is impressive. You see 2 drivers spin, unable to put a run together, and he comes in and throws it this aggressively, fills just over the rumble strip there in outside zone 1, through this puddle here at inside clip 1, not quite as close as he could be, but very, very precise considering the conditions. A tire off at outside zone number 2. Outside zone 3, you can see he had to stall up because he was going to overshoot it because he was a little bit late on 2 there, dropping a tire. But considering the conditions, that is a very impressive run.
So one of our top scorers from the first round of qualifying coming into run number 2. He's got an 82. Let's see if he can better that by really doing well under the current constraints of the rain, and not a lot of pressure. He does have that first 82, that first run of an 82, but this is a good opportunity here for him to back it up, at least give himself a good tiebreaker for some of the other drivers that do have 82s, and he gets a 77, so a very respectable score on the second run, and he will finish up and charge through for tomorrow. Our next driver up, Kazuhiro Kubo, he also has a 77. So he is going to be in the top 32, and he is looking to better his second run.
He was looking really great in practice yesterday, Ryan.
Here he goes. And aggressive little flick there right at the third standing cone. He's floating it out. Actually times it really well. Just a little bit deep into that first outside zone, but all things considered here, looking good. Gets out to that second outside zone, and the rain in the standing water is not phasing him one bit. Really doing a great job manipulating the vehicle through that last section, that off-camber turn, and that seemed pretty easy for him. And a great bit of driving there in both run number 1 and run number 2 for Kazuhiro Kubo.
Coming down to initiation, Ryan, he's got commitment, he's got a nice flick, not scared of the weather here, you can see. Right, yeah, that left tire just over the line there at outside zone 1. But very precise, very committed, very settled-looking car all the way through. You can see he's on throttle, not a lot of handbrake pulls, looking very confident. One little handbrake pull there in what is considered a decel zone, so good for him. Really confident-looking run.
So looking good here is Kazuhiro Kubo. Heading back to the hot pit in his S13, already with the 77 on run number 1, and run number 2 is going to come in at an 81, so he is going to improve. He's actually going to do basically the opposite of Jin Orino, who had an 82 and a 77. He has a 77 and an 81. So congratulations to him, a great bit of driving there. The next 2 drivers up both have incomplete, so the pressure is on. A score would get them into the top 32, most likely. 29 scores logged now, 32 spots available. Yasuhiro Takaki in the 180SX has been given the green light. He's heading out on course. Heads over to that third standing cone, close to the edge of the track, and he's going to come up way short on outside zone 1 and going to be way too tight of a line. Did not have the momentum and the speed, and he's going to register his second incomplete of the day. So Ryan, it looks like he just a bit tentative there and not enough speed and momentum to carry him out to outside zone 1 and very far off the inside clip.
Yeah, you can see he was pretty conservative on his initiation, very slow to angle, not really aggressive, but like you said, not the right amount of momentum. Missed outside zone 1 entirely. It put him on an extremely tight line going to inside clip 1 that would have been very difficult to get around without stalling or coming to a stop, so not really the ideal setup for the rest of the course. Kind of botched it right from the initiation and wasn't able to recover.
So unfortunately, he will officially get an incomplete on run number 2, and he will be out of competition. Ryan, our next driver up, Tadahiro Fukada, is a driver that we would expect to be in the top 32. The Dunlop driver in the JZX 100 mark. What happened? Oh, really? Why?
They just didn't say. They just gave me the old throat chop motion and said Fukada is out.
Wow, they are dropping like flies. And with only 1, 2, 3, 4 more incompletes, those 3 of those 4 drivers need to get a score if they want to have a full field. Our next driver does have a score, and that is Kenji Yamada. He's got a 62 on run number 1, the next in driver, trying to improve. Snaps the back.
Uh-oh.
Big angle, he's a bit deep here. I think he's gonna try to drive through it. It'll be a line mistake there. And he's gonna have to push hard to get out to outside zone 2. Trying to navigate here, try to find the right line. Patchy areas of traction on the course. So he will have a pretty sizable mistake on that first outside zone, Ryan. But he will get a score and try to improve on that 62.
Yeah, that was a solid 2 wheels off at outside zone 1. Almost 3 wheels off. You can see he went pretty deep here after initiation. If you look at that front wheel, he was right on the edge of the rumble strip, so that'll be a big deduction for him there. Came a little bit early into inside clip number 1, but got nice and close to it. Got the tire on the rumble strip there for outside zone number 2. Outside zone number 3 was pretty close, and did an all right job through to the finish line, but definitely too wide at outside zone 1.
All right, so Kenji Yamada will have 2 scores registered. One will go to his positioning, the second will go to a tiebreaker if necessary. And scores starting to come in here for Yamada. And it looks like he is going to drop a 64, so he will improve. Will improve by 2 points on run number 2. Next driver up, Ryan, car 408. This is a massive opportunity here. Shoya Saito, the Car Guy Racing S15 Sylvia, has an incomplete on run number 1. 29 spots open from my count. He could be number 30 by completing a run. Saito coming down. Does get that early initiation. He floats it out to outside zone 1. He comes off a little bit early, but so far so good. He's pushing wide on that first inside clip. Big angle there. He's going to drop a tire. Bumper falls off, but he is hanging in there. If he can manage to get around this last turn right here, he will get a score and be in the top 32. And he does do it with half a bumper through the finish line. So Ryan, take a look at this run here and point out some areas that were of attention for you here with Shoya Saito.
Yeah, he did go into outside zone 1 fairly well, but left it early, so he's going to lose some points there. He was off of inside clip 1. Huge angle here, but not in a good way, I guess you could say. It was more of a, it looked like it was almost a spin, but he managed to catch it. Went off course at outside zone 2. Was off of number 3 as well, but managed to get a score on the board. You know, it's going to be a little bit lower than I'm sure he wanted to get, but it's better than his previous 0. There you go, he has a 58.
So a 58 for Shoya Saito, and he does assure himself in the top 32 for now. And I think even just trying to do the rough math here, we do have a 40 in the scored position, so that actually should guarantee him a spot because somebody else would fall off if they were to get pushed up at that point. All right, so Shang Nian, 74. He's well into competition, just trying to better it now. Very aggressive approach from Shang.
Woo!
Big angle here, and he was pushing it. He's going to go right to the wall, and he is going to hit hard. The rear of the car going right into the wall, the front bumper coming off, and another tough hit. The wall claims another one, and it claims Shang Nian.
Shouldn't be anything too serious. Maybe some suspension arms and such in terms of damage, but car should be repairable here, especially since Power Vehicles is just up the hill. If they need to do any kind of more major repairs, but I don't think anything major will need to be, too major will need to be done there. It should just be maybe more than superficial, but less than a bent frame or anything like that. So it should be
more than superficial, less than destroyed.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Not the end of the world, but again, they're right up the hill here. They can just drag it up to the top.
if they have to. They have everything they need to fix it up there.
Looking at the scores, we've got 30 scores. So everybody that has a score right now is going to make it into the top 32 tomorrow. And we have 2 remaining drivers with incompletes. That means they must get a score to make it into competition and also to have a full field. Yuichi Yamagai, he's got a score of a 73. And excellent job on outside zone number 1. Beautifully put together run so far, but he messes up.
What happened?
And does not push out to outside zone 1. He basically missed that zone completely, but he really had the outside zone 1 nailed. And Ryan, love to get your take on what happened there. Just seemed like he wasn't able to get out to outside zone 2 for whatever reason.
That angle that he was carrying from outside zone 1 to inside clip 1 was fantastic. I don't know what occurred there. Let's watch the replay and see if we can figure out what happened. But right on the rumble strip, that couldn't have been any better right there. Right here, the angle was good, and then he had a little bobble, over-rotated a little bit, and just couldn't make it out there, unfortunately. So he missed that zone entirely. That's too bad because it was looking really good. But I'm getting some looks from the other judges here. Give me a second.
It won't matter at this point whether or not they scored as an incomplete. He's guaranteed to be in competition. It only becomes a tiebreaker if he does have an incomplete versus a scored run. He's got that 73, so they are going to give him an incomplete. That is official.
Unchaseable lead run.
Unchaseable lead run, okay. So the next driver up is definitely a top star in Formula Drift Japan, and we've seen him do very well. This is Daisuke Hara. He has an incomplete. If he gets any points on the board, any points, 1 point, he's into the top 32. There are 30 spots that are filled right now. There are 2 that are remaining. Kanta Yanaguida, we've been told, is out of competition. That means the next 2 drivers that score runs, will get scored runs, will be in the top 32. Hara, nice initiation. All right. Pretty good job there on outside zone 1. He's just got to hold it together. Any score will do. Keep angling the car, buddy. He goes off course. And he really threaded it very close to the line there. I can see Robbie Nishida holding his hands in his head, thinking, is that an incomplete? Ryan, walk us through here, run number 2.
I'm getting some head shakes from the other guys, but let's watch this replay one more time. Really great job outside zone 1, tire on the rumble strip. Bit of a bobble there. A little bit early on inside clip 1, but right here he straightens, drops a tire there, and then straightens up a lot and drives and actually understeers and then tries to reinitiate. So definitely not a chaseable lead run in a tandem situation, and not a chaseable run for the qualifying characteristics that we're looking for from a run. So unfortunately that is going to be an incomplete for him as well.
Wow, so we will guaranteed have 1 open spot in the top 32 for a bye, and it will be for the number 1 qualifier, which right now still stands with Katsuhiro Ueno at an 86. So Katsuhiro Ueno is still currently our number 1 qualifier. Our next driver up is Kazuki Hayashi. He is guaranteed in the top 32. He has a 66. This one is for positioning. Can he better the 66? Let's see here on run number 2. Midline approach, burning the wheels all the way down the initiation, and this is looking pretty good so far. Gets a little bit far. Oh, and he hit that patch and just saves it there. It's going to be an incomplete on run number 2. The 66 is going to have to hold. Ryan, it started off pretty good here for Hayashi, but that little patch right there.
Yeah. It's tricky out there today. You really have to position your tires on the track in just the right spot. He went a little bit long on outside zone 1, and there's no rubber down there, and I guess it's just slippery paint in that section. So you got to really leave the zone where you're supposed to. He just hung it a little bit too long, and the car lost grip. The rear left tire there lost grip, and away he went.
All right, so making it official there, Kazuki Hayashi with an incomplete. The next driver up is already well into competition. It is Shinji Minowa, the JZX90 Mark II. He's got an 81. Let's see how he does here on run number 2. He's already going to be in probably our top 5. He could pop into the top 3 here. I see another driver, Andrew Gray, has an 81. So this next run would be a tiebreaker for him and Andrew. Here he goes. Minowa, run number 2. 81 on run number 1. Initiates middle of the course. Times it pretty well. Beautifully executed on outside zone 1. Through that inside clip. Oh, and he gets held up there, but he manages to make it look pretty clean. Woo. Wow, big transition back around with huge angle on outside zone 3. And does a good job to finish up the course there on that last inside clip. He had that 81. Had a little moment there where it got kind of hairy, but he actually made it look pretty good. Ryan, what's your take here on run number 2 for Shinji Minowa?
Like I was saying earlier, this man has a lot of laps on this track, and he seems very comfortable no matter what the conditions. Really great job on outside zone 1. Tire right on that rumble strip from beginning to end, which is exactly where he needs to be. Pretty tight on inside clip 1. There is a puddle there after inside clip 1, and it seems like it's washing out a few drivers. He'd had a bit of a bobble, but look at the way he put his tire right on the edge of that rumble strip on outside zone 2. Great job on outside zone 3, and good job on inside clip 2 to the finish. So really strong run from him.
So waiting for the scores to drop. He is equally aligned right now with Andrew Gray, who is going to be coming up here in just about 4 or 5 competitors. So this run would be a tiebreaker for him. He will move north by 1 point at an 82. So good job from him in managing to navigate and challenge these tough conditions here. Our next driver heading to the line now. His driving partner went into the wall pretty hard. He has got a 66, so he is guaranteed in competition. This is Kazuya Matsukawa. Looking to better a 66. Nice early initiation way before the third standing cone. Floats it out. He's going to go way off course, though. He's going to get back on course. He's going to drive through that first inside clip. He's going to have to pull a little bit of angle out here. Just flirts with the inside section of outside zone 2. Better on outside zone 3. So this will be a second scored run for him if he can hold it through the finish line, and he does. So, Ryan, that was pretty far off outside zone 1, but he ended up finishing up the run.
Yes, it looked like his initiation was kind of two-tiered. You could see he started to rotate, it kind of paused, and then he kept rotating. He did go off with 2 tires and outside zone 1, so that's going to be a big line deduction. Coming through here, inside clip 1, he had a bit of a bobble correction there, kind of like Shinji did, but didn't go as deep in outside zone 2. Outside zone 3 did an okay job, could have been deeper. Really tight on inside clip 2, and you can see he kind of ran over the late end of the rumble strip, and it unsettled the car a bit, but managed to stay at angle through the finish line.
All right, so Kazuya Matsukawa logs a 66 on run number 1. Run number 2 comes in at a
It's raining again, right?
A 66. He matches his first run. All right, now, Ryan, it's worth teeing this up a little bit. Somebody that has the ear of Yoshitaka Ogane, who's the next driver up the RX-7. He is the last remaining driver that has an incomplete. You just have to tell him, scored run.
Yep.
1 point. Don't incomplete.
Get a 50, get a 40, whatever, you're in if you get it.
You're in, baby. Now, if he does not get a scored run here, the second place qualifier will also have a bye. Yoshitaka Ogane. Slipping and sliding into an incomplete. Crap. So that is extremely disappointing for Ogane and all of us, because that leaves 1 extra spot. So it'll be 30, right now it'll be 30 of 32 spots filled after that incomplete by Ogane. And the judge is making it official there. Yoshitaka Ogane will have that incomplete. And sadly, as he is a top 10 driver, he will be out of competition for tomorrow. Now we'll move on to Naoto Suinaga, the Team Kazama driver in the S15. Already has a 75. This is really just about the tiebreakers for any other 75s that are out there in the top 30 drivers so far. As we settle the last cone, marking the first outside zone, we will be set and ready to go.
Since Suinaga does work at Ebisu, drives here pretty often, has been here for many, many years. He has some pretty decent seat time at this track, so he could potentially do pretty well here.
Suinaga heading down for a second run. He does get that. Whoa, buddy. Oh, no. Oh, my gosh.
What did I just say?
Oh.
I take everything back.
That was really scary, and the vehicle is upside down. Let's get some attention on him, make sure he's okay.
Whew.
That was very scary, and right in front of the judges' stand. You can see the car smoking here. Obviously, the score doesn't really matter at this point, but he is out of the vehicle. He looks okay.
They're holding him up, so he may be a little dazed from that. That was huge.
Yeah, he did roll the car upside down, and it nearly actually flipped over while on top. Let's take a look at this again. Actually, Brian, why don't you walk us through what happens here? It looks like he came down with quite a bit of speed and momentum.
Yeah, way too fast for the conditions right now. I feel bad for my comments now, but he definitely was going too fast, rode up that wall. Like you said, that could have been a multiple rollover situation. It's just the way that it rode up the wall. Managed to only do one kind of roll and land on its roof, but he could have been hurt pretty seriously there if that car had got into a tumble. I mean, we don't like to see a rollover period, but wow, that was intense.
Well, we are back at the G-Shock Presents Formula Drift Japan Championship here at Ebisu on the West Course. You can actually see in front of you there that the vehicle of Naoto Suinaga is being forked off. We are getting word that he is okay, a little shaken up, but he is being looked at by medical, and he has let us know that he's feeling fine. So that is really, really awesome to hear. But the question of whether or not he's going to be able to get back out there tomorrow, I think that is open-ended at this point until we know more details about the vehicle. So thankfully he's okay. We've got the vehicle off of the track, and we just have about 6 more runs to go. If you weren't with us previously, we heard some information about Kanta Yanaguida blowing his motor in run number 1, so he is out of competition. We currently have 30 drivers with scored runs and no more zeros left to fill, so it looks like there will be 2 buys for tomorrow. And now the remaining drivers, which include Benjamin Chiam, Andrew Gray, Hayato Miyoshi, Katsuhiro Ueno, Koichi Yamashita, and Wataru Masuyama, are really battling for positioning at this point. Katsuhiro Ueno is currently our number 1 qualifier. He has an 86. And Hayato Miyoshi is in number 2 with an 83. So, Ryan, wow, that was pretty crazy. And very grateful that FD Japan has implemented much of the rules that we have back in the States. You definitely want those cars to do what they're designed to do, and that seemed like that happened there. That was the craziest crash I think I've seen in quite a while.
Yep. Yeah, I don't there was the rollover that happened to Jim Guthrie in Vegas, I think it was.
Yep.
That was pretty intense, but this is a different type of rollover where he climbed up so high on that wall. He had to be 20 feet up in the air before he actually started to roll.
Yeah, that's going to definitely make the highlight reel for a lot of different reasons. All right, Benjamin Chiam, he started off his first run with a very solid score of an 82. And let's hope everybody learned a lesson here. Speed can be your friend, or it can be your worst enemy in these conditions. Benjamin Chiam navigating pretty solidly here through run number 2, just dropping his left rear tire on that outside zone. A lot of wheel speed, as you can see, really slow through that section of the course, but managing to keep angle in the car, make it look pretty decent here. So he will finish up his run, trying to better that 82 to gain some positioning here. And Ryan, let's take a look at Benjamin's run in the second half of qualifying.
Little slow to initiate there. The rotation wasn't as quick as it could be. Got into outside zone 1, but left it early. Good amount of angle coming inside clip 1, but the line wasn't the best. He was a little bit tight, which sent him wide, and he had to kind of rotate the car a little weird there. Dropped a tire in outside zone 2, so a couple of inaccuracies, a couple of things he could have cleaned up, things that could have been done a little bit better. But he will, I don't think he's going to beat his first score. I think it'll be a little bit worse.
All right, for reference, his first score was an 82. Starting to see some scores from judges come in. And it looks like he will probably not back that up or go higher than 82. It's a 75. 75 for Benjamin Chiam. And now 5 drivers left. We are moving over Kanta Yanaguira after the motor detonation in run number 1, so sad for him. That will definitely drop him down a few points, excuse me, a few positions in the championship order, where he currently sits in 7th right now, or 6th rather. So here's Andrew Gray. He's got an 81. Gray, early initiation. He floats it out. Beautifully well done on that first outside zone. Tight on that inside clip, and he angles up. And the same situation that happened to Yoshitaka Ogane also happens to Andrew Gray. That inside clip playing spoiler to more than a handful of drivers. And it looks like, Ryan, in the wet conditions, it seems to be way more challenging than what we saw when the course was starting to get a little bit more dry.
It's unfortunate because of how well he did outside zone 1. That tire was right on the rumble strip where it should have been. You can see a bobble there from him. He over-rotated. That's all. It's as simple as that. It's because of the amount of rain we have, there's puddling there, pooling, and that the rumble strip, I guess, bit him a little bit. So it's unfortunate, but it's going to be an incomplete.
It is going to be an incomplete.
Yeah, due to the unchaseable nature of it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think you guys have definitely been consistent on that. That's the second or third driver that hasn't pushed out to outside zone 2, and you've given that incomplete. So Andrew Gray will have to sit with his 81. He will not have a tiebreaker to back it up. And this gentleman, car 344, Hayato Miyoshi. The R34 Skyline looked very solid. Now, this was towards the tail end of the rain in run number 1, where we were starting to get patchier conditions, but they certainly were drier. It's still a bit wetter than it was when he came out last time, so we'll have to see how he adjusts to these conditions. Leaving the chicane. Still looking aggressive, snaps it into the initiation. He's going to get the timing a little bit too late, goes a bit too deep into that outside zone, swings through that inside clip, trying to get out to outside zone 2. Good job there, right on the rumble strips. A little bit of an adjustment, comes off outside zone 3 a bit early. Good angle through that final inside clip as he pushes through, and so he will have a second scored run as he just goes off course there past the finish line, sitting on an 83.
Pretty decent run from Miyoshi here. You can see his initiation, pretty aggressive initiation, or initial flick, I guess. Could have rotated a little bit quicker. Went a tire off on outside zone 1. Same thing, came in a little bit early on inside clip 1, and then washed out a little bit through that puddle there. Probably over-rotated a bit, but managed to catch it and get through to outside zone number 2, and finished off pretty decently through that run.
All right, so some good consistency from Hayato Miyoshi in the R34 Skyline on good rides. He's got a 76 backing it up, so he will not better the 83, but a solid score on run number 2 nonetheless. All right, we are back here for our last 3 remaining competitors. This is your current number 1 qualifier. So there's only 2 guys that could potentially catch him. That's Koichi Yamashita and Wataru Masuyama. He is Katsuhiro Yuichi. He's got an 86. Looked very settled in that first run. Got him that 86. This time he goes a little bit too deep into that first outside zone, so a little bit slicker conditions out there to try and manufacture a backup score. He still looks pretty good here, and I think this will be a solid backup score, maybe not getting up to the 86, but nonetheless, he seems to be well suited to these wet conditions, and both runs saw varying degrees of that. So Ryan, let's take a look at Yueo's run number 2.
Coming down to initiation, pretty committed here. He gets 2 tires off on outside zone 1, so a couple of points deducted there. And then as he comes through inside clip 1, good angle, manages to stay just a little bit off of inside clip 1, but keeps the angle and doesn't stall up as he goes past there. He's always able to get through this course in a very committed, high throttle usage kind of method, which other drivers don't seem to be able to. I don't know what it is about the way he's got his car set up or his driving style, but it's very impressive.
Well, and it is a great backup score for him. I think that is going to put him well into the strongest position overall when you look at both scores, an 86 and an 84. That cannot be beat at this point. Only the single score of an 86 can be beat, and only 2 remaining drivers can do it. He is currently second in points. He's Koichi Yamashita, 79 on run number 1. Here he goes for run number 2. Midline approach, snaps it. Uh-oh, he's going fast. No. Oh my gosh, another bad hit.
No, stop.
The right front, the right rear is off the wheel. There is damage. Oh, and the left rear as well. So both rear wheels and tires are completely unmounted. You can see some damage to the back bumper. Ryan, it seemed like he was carrying a bit too much speed there.
Yes.
And that has caused a problem for the last 2 drivers that have gone into the wall.
Yeah, a little bit too much speed, not enough grip for that amount of speed, and that we've seen some hits that were softer than that, let's say, where maybe they rode up the wall a little bit, but it's just the angle that his car was at. It hit very hard and spun his car. You can see the damage it did to both rear wheels, the trunk. Yeah, that does not bode well for that car right there, but he was able to drive it off course. It just shows how tough those JZXs are. These things are built like tanks, and they can take a beating. But now we have an incredible amount of mud just past outside zone 1. Parts to pick up. It's pretty messy out there. So you can see the cleanup crew right now. There's Yueyo. I'm sure he's pretty happy with the dual score that he has there, 86-84. That looks like will cement him in first place. We've got Wild Yueyo right now. We've seen a couple of haircuts from him in pictures from previous years. The long haircut's Wild Yueyo, and then we got the shorter haircut, which looks like Business Yueyo. But we definitely have Wild Yueyo this round, which has, I think, given him good results.
There's the scores coming in, making it official. So Koichi Yamashita will have to stick with that 79 from run number 1. So it's been a pretty challenging day, all things considered, when you look at top to bottom, how these drivers were able to handle not only the conditions, but the pressure that came along with it.
Yeah, the timing of that rain couldn't have been any worse. 5 minutes before we started qualifying, it started to pour. And drivers, there was no opportunity to give them any more than that one qualifier, practice lap before qualifying, so made it very challenging.
All right, so here's our final driver, the final driver that could possibly dethrone the 86 of Yueyo. And just by that outside zone, I think it's not going to be enough, but Wataru Masuyama has consistently been a top qualified driver, if not the #1 driver for many events. He currently sits on top of the points championship. It doesn't look like he's going to get the #1 qualifying spot here today, but he has a 74 on his first run, so he's looking to improve on that to try and get himself in the best possible position in the bracket for tomorrow. If he can get into that #2 spot, he can get himself a bye.
Looking at his initiation, nice rate to angle, did a good job of getting the car to the beginning of the zone, just couldn't complete it, and I would say that it was probably the safer way to go about that as opposed to going on the other side of that rumble strip. You want to keep it on the track surface here. You can see what happens when you don't, but he looks very smooth and composed throughout the run. Doesn't look like he's shaky or making errors at all, so he does look like he's pretty confident. If it does rain tomorrow, that's going to bode well for him, showing that he does have the confidence and the fluidity to put together a good lead run.
All right, as we wrap things up here with our final driver of the afternoon, Wataru Masuyama, we'll remind you that tomorrow we'll be back for the top 32 and the top 16. If you are watching on the West Coast in California or anywhere in that time zone, we will be kicking off at 5:20 p.m. with the top 32, and then coming back at around 9 o'clock, 9:10 for top 16 opening ceremonies. If you'd like to see other time zones, you can go to the Formula Drift Instagram or social media pages, and we've got all the time zones around the world posted for you. As we wait to hear from our #1 qualifier, it looks like it is going to be officially Katsuhiro Ueno at an 86 in run #1 and an 84 in run #2. So a very eventful day, a lot for us to absorb and take into an account as we prepare for tomorrow. And, you know, just the takeaways from you overall. I mean, crashes, some great runs, mostly wet conditions. What do you think we can expect for tomorrow?
Probably a lot of what we saw today, minus the crashes, hopefully, but the weather is looking like it's going to be wet again. I don't know at what point in time tomorrow it will be dry versus wet, but it looks like it's going to rain again. So we're going to have to contend with some more of these conditions. We're going to have to see how this plays out in tandem. It's been pretty sketchy for one car at a time, so imagine how bad it's going to be with two cars on the track. There could be some slight chaos there maybe, but these drivers are going to get some practice in the morning, although a short session. We'll see how well they can do in that short session, getting accustomed to the track and whatever setup changes they need to make to their cars. But pretty eventful day, Ryan. I hope Tsunaga's okay. We're going to go check on him now. He walked off to the ambulance, so he should be fine, but not something we like to see.
All right, well, that is going to wrap up day one here of the G-Shock Presents Formula Drift Japan Championship here at Ebisu Circuit. We will be back here tomorrow for a full top 32. Actually, check that, 30 of 32, as we've got 2 bye spots that are available to our #1 and #2 qualifiers. Thank you for joining us. We will see you tomorrow back here. Let's hope the rain does not come back. See you tomorrow.